Before we get started, please like and subscribe. Let me know where you're watching from, and you can support the channel by clicking thanks or joining. The air around the old Harrington house carried a heaviness that never lifted, like the weight of a storm that refused to break. Ethan Clark felt it the moment he stepped out of his car, the cold settling into his bones despite the late summer heat. He had returned to his childhood town for one reason only: to handle the estate his uncle left behind. Yet nothing in the will mentioned the basement, the part of the home Ethan feared more than any memory he carried. As a child, Ethan remembered the basement door always being locked. His uncle insisted it was unsafe, that the wooden steps were unstable, that there were tools and sharp objects scattered around. But the real reason revealed itself in whispers Ethan overheard late at night, fragments of arguments about time, impossible things, and what the basement did to people who stayed too long. His uncle had been a recluse, shutting himself in that house for years, speaking to no one except the occasional delivery man. Rumor said he lost track of days, that he was seen wearing the same clothes for weeks, that he aged strangely, sometimes looking older, sometimes younger. People dismissed it as madness. Ethan now knew better. The house interior smelled of dust and forgotten years. Furniture draped in white sheets loomed like ghosts frozen in mid-motion. Ethan made his way toward the study where his uncle kept journals, hoping to find instructions regarding the property. Instead, he found a single item placed purposefully on the old writing desk. A brass key. The engraving on its handle displayed a symbol Ethan had never seen, a shape that almost seemed to shift when he blinked. Next to the key was a note written in shaky handwriting. "Do not go to the basement after dark. Time does not move the same there." Ethan stared at the message, wondering whether his uncle had been losing his sanity toward the end. Yet the memory of those strange childhood moments made him hesitate. He recalled waking one morning to find his uncle staring at the basement door as though expecting something to emerge. He remembered how his uncle once grabbed him by the shoulders, warning him never to listen if the basement called his name. At the time, he thought it was just a frightening story meant to keep him out of danger, but the fear in his uncle's eyes had been real, moving through the house room by room. Ethan found signs of a man who attempted to seal something away. Heavy nails along window frames, salt poured across door thresholds, ropes tied into strange knots. Each detail increased the tension in Ethan's chest. What terrified his uncle so deeply that he resorted to these rituals? The answer likely waited behind the basement door. By late afternoon, the house grew dim as cloud cover rolled in. Ethan gathered cleaning supplies and tools, convincing himself he would take a brief look downstairs just to confirm the structure was intact. The key felt cold in his hand when he approached the door. The lock clicked open with a metallic sound that echoed too long, as if the air swallowed the noise and stretched it. The basement steps groaned under his weight. The light bulb at the top flickered but remained lit, casting long shadows over the room below. Dust floated in still air, unmoving as though suspended in gel. That was the first thing Ethan noticed. The second was the old grandfather clock standing in the center of the room. Its hands did not move, yet it emitted a faint ticking sound. Each tick felt slightly delayed, like an echo of itself. Ethan descended slowly, his breaths growing shallow. Something felt wrong with the air, as though each inhale took longer than it should. He reached the ground floor, shining his flashlight across shelves of forgotten books, jars filled with cloudy liquids, and mechanical parts he could not identify. His uncle had been building something, or trying to stop something. Ethan moved deeper until he found the journal on a workbench. The first page contained a date, but the date was impossible. It was written as though his uncle had documented something months after he had already died. The entries described experiments on the nature of time, how the basement bent it, how minutes stretched into hours, how the air thickened the longer one remained. His uncle wrote about hearing voices from other versions of himself, about glimpsing shadows that did not belong to him. He wrote that the basement was not a room, it was a fracture. Ethan felt dizzy as he tried to steady himself. He noticed the clock ticking backward. Each tick made the room pulse slightly, as if the walls inhaled and exhaled. He turned toward the stairs, intending to leave immediately, but the steps seemed farther away than they should have been. He blinked, and suddenly the basement lights dimmed to a deep amber hue. His pulse quickened. Something was changing. A voice whispered his name. Ethan froze. The whisper came from behind him, near the workbench. He turned slowly, gripping the flashlight tightly. Nothing moved, but he heard it again, softer, stretched, like sound bent across distance. "Ethan, come see." He stumbled backward, the air resisting his movement, as though time itself thickened like syrup. Shadows on the wall elongated, forming shapes he did not recognize. He heard another whisper, this time sounding like his uncle, pleading with him to leave. Ethan ran toward the stairs, but each step he took felt slower. His limbs lost their normal speed. His vision flickered, showing multiple frames at once, like time splitting around him. Finally, he reached the stairs and pulled himself up with all his strength. The basement door slammed shut behind him with violent force, sending a jolt through the hallway. Ethan gasped for breath, collapsing against the wall as reality settled again. His phone vibrated in his pocket. When he checked it, the screen displayed a date, 3 days in the future. He had only been downstairs for 15 minutes. Fear surged through him. The basement had taken something from him already, and it wanted more. Ethan did not sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt as though the walls around him shifted slightly, as if the house were inhaling and exhaling in slow motion. His uncle's warning replayed in his mind, the shaky handwriting pressing itself into his memory. Do not go to the basement after dark. Time does not move the same there. Ethan had dismissed it as delusion earlier in the day, but now he understood it was not madness. It was terror, genuine, bone-deep terror that no sane person could fake. And he had felt it himself, the air thickening, his own body slowing, the whispered voice calling his name. The basement had changed him already. He could feel a strange lethargy in his muscles, not not like exhaustion, but like the remnants of someone else's tempo clinging to him. Time had touched him. He did not know what it had left behind. He paced the hallway, pausing every few minutes to listen. The house was almost too silent, not the normal quiet of an old place, but a silence that seemed to swallow sound instead of lacking it. When he walked, he noticed something unsettling. His footsteps did not always sing. Sometimes they sounded a heartbeat too late. Sometimes they overlapped, as if echoing before the sound should exist. He held his breath, testing it. The sound stopped, but when he exhaled, he heard the faintest linger of an extra step somewhere behind him. He spun around. No one stood there, yet he felt the unmistakable sensation of someone about to follow him. Ethan retreated into the living room and forced himself to sit down. He opened his uncle's journal again, scanning the entries for anything that resembled a warning or solution. His uncle wrote about experiments in time manipulation, theories most scientists would call impossible, but the basement had made impossible things routine. According to the journal, time in the basement did not simply slow, it fractured. Portions of it looped, stretched, collapsed, or leaked. His uncle described hearing himself speak before he opened his mouth. He described seeing shadows not tied to his own movements. He wrote that the basement was a wound in the structure of reality, a wound that refused to heal. One entry caught Ethan's attention. It mentioned that the basement reacted more strongly to certain people, sensitive minds, people who experienced things they could not explain as children. Ethan recoiled at the memory of the night he heard the basement calling him when he was 8 years old. He thought it had been a dream. His uncle found him standing at the top of the basement stairs, eyes open but unseeing. His uncle had been furious, terrified. He carried Ethan back to bed and locked the basement door with 3 separate padlocks. Ethan asked him why the next morning, and his uncle gave the same excuse he always did: unsafe tools, sharp objects, weak steps, lies, all lies. Ethan rubbed his hands together, trying to shake off the cold that lingered on his skin despite the warm air. A rational mind would have left the house already, but something compelled him to stay. A sense of obligation, a sense of unfinished business, and a deeper fear that if he left now, the basement would not let him go. His uncle's final entries warned that once someone entered the basement, it marked them. It would want them back. It would try to lure them again. Ethan wanted to believe that was paranoia, but the whisper he heard earlier said otherwise. At dawn, he walked through the house again, this time inspecting walls, floors, and doors with the flashlight. He found something new, a faint imprint on the dust-covered hallway near the basement door. A footprint, not his, too small and too narrow, almost childlike. Ethan knelt, a chill creeping up his spine. The print was fresh. As he leaned closer, he realized something was wrong with it. The edges were blurry, not smudged, but as if the print had been made before the dust settled and after at the same time. He stood quickly, wiping his palms on his jeans. Heart pounding, he decided to leave the house for a few hours, hoping fresh air and sunlight would clear his mind. But when he grabbed his keys and opened the front door, the world outside felt strange. The air had a slight delay, like he was stepping into a scene rendered half a second too slow. Birds flew overhead, but their wings flapped with a faint stutter. A car passed on the street, but the sound came a moment after the movement. Ethan stumbled backward and slammed the door shut. The house was affecting the outside world for him, or he was still carrying the basement's distortion. Breathing hard, he leaned against the wall. His uncle had been trapped in this place for years. Ethan wondered how his mind stayed intact for so long. Maybe it did not. Maybe the journals were the last pieces of sanity he managed to write down before the basement claimed the rest. Ethan forced himself to focus. He needed a plan, something to ground him, something that reminded him he was still in control of his own time. He returned to the study and searched the desk drawers more thoroughly. After several minutes, he found a second journal, smaller, leather-bound, with pages filled in haste. His uncle wrote cryptic instructions about time anchors, objects that held normal temporal weight, watches, mirrors, photographs, items tied to fixed moments. He wrote that the basement fed on instability. Anything that reminded it of real time weakened its pull. Ethan scanned the room and found an old pocket watch on the shelf. Its glass cracked but intact. He wound it slowly, listening to the steady tick. It was normal, comforting, real. He slipped it into his pocket. The ticking grounded him. His breath synced with it. His thoughts stabilized. For the first time since he arrived, he felt the slightest sense of clarity, but the feeling did not last long because a sound echoed through the hallway. A soft creak, the unmistakable noise of the basement door swinging open. Ethan froze. He did not move. He did not breathe. The pocket watch ticked steadily against his thigh. He stared down the hallway, half expecting something to step out. Nothing did, but he heard something else. A faint tapping sound on the steps, slow, rhythmic, not approaching, not retreating, just tapping, like someone waiting patiently. Every instinct told him to run, yet he felt his legs drifting forward without permission. The house seemed to bend around him, guiding him down the hallway one step at a time. His vision pulsed faintly, as if he were slipping between frames of reality. He reached the basement door. It stood open an inch, enough to reveal darkness thicker than shadow. The tapping stopped. Silence swallowed everything. Ethan whispered a single word. "No." The pocket watch ticked sharply, almost louder than before. And in that moment, the spell broke. He stumbled backward, slamming the door closed and shoving the bolt into place. His heart pounded. Sweat dripped down his forehead. The house groaned softly, as if disappointed. Ethan knew then that the basement was not waiting. It was hunting, and it had all the time in the world. Morning light seeped through the dusty curtains, but it brought no comfort to Ethan. He had not slept. He could not. Every hour of the night felt stretched and twisted, like someone pulling at the edges of time with invisible hands. The pocket watch in his jacket ticked steadily, the only thing keeping him anchored. Without it, Ethan feared he might drift into one of those fractured pockets described in his uncle's journals, trapped in loops of moments that never ended. The tapping on the basement steps still echoed in his mind, slow, patient, as though whatever waited below had all the time in the world to lure him back. He brewed coffee in the kitchen, the bitter smell offering a small sense of normalcy, yet even that felt wrong. The steam rose too slowly. The liquid swirled in the cup as if reacting to currents he could not see. Ethan stared at it, feeling the familiar dizziness from the basement creeping into his head. He backed away quickly, gripping the counter to steady himself. He needed to understand this place. He needed to know why his uncle spent decades trying to contain whatever was in the basement. The journals hinted at research, experiments, and warnings, but they lacked one thing: a solution, a way to stop it. Ethan made his way to the attic, hoping to find older documents or records that his uncle might have hidden. Dust coated every surface. The air smelled stale. Untouched, wooden beams creaked under his weight as he moved deeper into the space, shining his flashlight into corners filled with boxes. One crate, bound tightly with rope, caught his attention. The rope was tied in the same strange knot patterns he saw on the window frames downstairs, symbols he recognized from the journal as protection marks meant to bind time distortions. He cut the rope carefully and lifted the lid. Inside lay stacks of yellowed papers, diagrams of gears and pendulums, sketches of strange machines with notes scrawled in margins. His uncle had been trying to build something, a stabilizer, a device meant to counteract the basement's anomalies. Ethan flipped through the pages, heart pounding. The sketches grew more frantic the further he went. Lines jagged, handwriting shaking. The last sheet showed a rough drawing of the basement floor with circles and runes etched across it. In the center was a symbol, the same shifting one engraved on the brass key. Ethan felt cold spread through him. His uncle had not built a device to stop the basement. He had built a device to survive it. A sudden thump echoed from below, not from the attic. From the hallway, Ethan froze, every muscle tightening. He turned off his flashlight and listened. The house breathed again, slow and unnatural, the air rippling around him like shallow waves. Another sound followed, a faint dragging, not footsteps, not tapping, something pulling across the floorboards. He crept toward the attic stairs, descending slowly. Halfway down, he saw movement in the hallway, a shadow. It stretched unnaturally long across the floor, bending at angles that did not match the walls or the light. Ethan stopped breathing. The shadow shifted, pulsing lightly, like a heartbeat. Then it snapped back, disappearing into the crack beneath the basement door. Ethan nearly lost his balance. Whatever it was, it had not fully emerged. It was testing the boundaries, testing the seals his uncle had placed. The brass key, the ropes, the salt. It wanted through. He retreated into the study, clutching the papers he found. He spread them across the desk and scanned them for anything he could use. The notes mentioned that the basement acted like a throat, pulling in pieces of time from other places. It fed on instability, on moments unanchored from reality. That explained the voices, the shadows, the footprints. They were not all from this timeline. One paragraph stood out. The basement does not open. It invites. It whispers to those who can hear time shift. It marks them. Once marked, the person becomes part of its cycle. It will call them again and again until they return. Avoid responding. Avoid descending. Avoid touching the fracture, for it watches from the other side. Ethan exhaled shakily. He was marked. The whisper from the basement had been unmistakable. It knew him now. As he studied further, his eyes caught a note written in bolder ink, as if his uncle rushed to write it before something stopped him. Time cannot be destroyed. It can only be redirected. If the basement is a wound, then a new anchor must be created. Something stronger than the fracture. Something living. Ethan felt a chill slip down his spine. Living. His uncle had considered using a living anchor. A person. Someone whose temporal weight was strong enough to hold back the basement's pull. But the notes abruptly ended there. No explanation, no confirmation, just silence. He wondered whether his uncle had tried the experiment on himself. A sudden knock echoed through the house. Ethan jumped, papers scattering off the desk. The knock came again, slow, measured, not from the basement, from the front door. He approached cautiously. Who would visit a house like this? When he opened the door, no one was there, only a package sitting neatly on the porch, addressed to his uncle, though the postmark was recent. Ethan hesitated before picking it up. Inside was a single item wrapped in cloth. When he unwrapped it, his breath caught. A pocket watch, identical to the one he carried, but pristine. Touched by time. He wound it. It did not tick, not until he held it next to his own. Then both watches began ticking in perfect synchrony. The sound resonated through the room, almost like a pulse. Ethan stepped back, unnerved. This new watch felt heavier, as though carrying its own gravity. He stared at it, wondering who sent it and why it arrived now. Was someone else aware of the basement? Was someone helping him? Or was this another pull from the fracture? The air suddenly tightened. A low hum vibrated through the walls. Ethan gripped the watch instinctively. The basement door swung open with a deep groan, not slowly like before, fully, deliberately. A draft of cold air swept through the hallway, carrying faint whispers that layered over one another. Thousands of voices speaking the same syllables at different speeds. Ethan could not make out words, only tones, urgent, desperate, calling him. He staggered backward as the shadows inside the basement shifted, writhing like living smoke. Lines of dim amber light pulsed along the walls, matching the rhythm of the ticking watches in his hands. The bookshelves rattled. The grandfather clock in the basement let out a distorted chime, echoing through the house even though Ethan was not anywhere near it. He slammed the front door and pressed himself against the wall, breathing hard. The pocket watches ticked faster. The whispers grew louder. The house trembled. The basement was no longer waiting. It was opening. Ethan pressed his back against the wall and listened as the basement breathed. It inhaled with a low vibration that trembled through the floorboards, then exhaled in a slow whisper that seemed to seep beneath the doors. He squeezed the 2 pocket watches in his hands, feeling their synchronized ticking pulse against his palms. The sound grounded him, but only barely. The watches ticked at the speed of normal time, yet the rest of the house felt as though it had slipped into a different rhythm. Shadows shifted too slowly, dust hung too long in the air. His own heartbeat echoed out of sync with itself. He shut his eyes for a moment, trying to collect his thoughts, but the whispers leaked into his mind like water through cracks. He forced himself to move. Standing still felt dangerous, as if the house might swallow him if he stayed in one place too long. He stepped into the study, shutting the door and pressing a chair against it. The whispers dulled, but they did not disappear. Instead, they hummed like static beneath his thoughts. He spread more diagrams and notes across the desk, trying to make sense of his uncle's final work. The basement was opening. That much was clear. The protective seals were deteriorating, and Ethan's presence was accelerating the weakening. The journal entries repeated one idea again and again. The basement responded to attention. The more someone acknowledged it, feared it, or investigated it, the stronger its pull became. If that was true, Ethan wondered whether simply leaving the house would save him. He doubted it. Once marked, the basement's influence traveled with a person. It reached across time itself. That explained why the outside world felt wrong earlier, why birds flew with that strange stutter, why silence stretched too long between sounds. The fracture had touched him. He was part of its cycle now. He paced the study, pocket watches ticking. There had to be a solution, something his uncle missed or did not have time to complete. He scanned the diagrams again, noticing a detail he had previously overlooked. The stabilizer his uncle tried to build required 3 components: a temporal anchor, which Ethan now recognized could be the pocket watches, a reflective surface, such as a mirror, to redirect fractured time, and something else, a living conduit, someone who could withstand exposure to temporal distortion long enough to channel it back into the stabilizer. The thought made Ethan's skin crawl. His uncle had nearly attempted it, but the notes suggested he abandoned the idea, or perhaps he failed. Perhaps the basement took him before he could finish. A sudden thud shook the study door. Ethan spun around, heart racing. The chair he had wedged beneath the handle shifted slightly. The thud came again, a slow push, a testing pressure. The whispers grew louder, curling around the edges of the wood. Ethan shouted through the door, voice cracking, "Go away!" The whispering stopped instantly. Silence filled the house. Heavy, expectant. Ethan's breath hitched. He prayed the silence meant the basement had backed off. But deep down he knew it was listening, waiting, considering. After a long moment, Ethan grabbed the flashlight and rushed down the hallway toward his uncle's old bedroom. If the stabilizer existed anywhere, it had to be here. The door creaked open, revealing a room untouched for years. Dust covered everything, but the bed remained neatly made, the nightstand clear except for a single object, a framed photograph. Ethan approached, lifting it carefully. His uncle stood beside a younger Ethan, perhaps 8 years old, smiling awkwardly at the camera. But behind them, nearly hidden by the shadows, was the basement door. The frame had captured something strange. The edges of the basement door were blurred, distorted, as though captured mid-ripple. Ethan frowned, running his thumb across the glass. When he did, the photo flickered slightly. The distortion deepened. For a moment, the image seemed to move, the shadows stretching behind his uncle like fingers reaching toward the boy. Ethan dropped the frame with a gasp. It hit the floor, shattering the glass. Dust rose in a faint cloud, suspended in the still air. Ethan blinked, unnerved. Even memories were compromised. He tore through drawers next, searching for anything related to the device. In the bottom drawer, beneath old letters and weathered clothes, he found a metal box. Inside were 3 objects: a diagram of the stabilizer, a small gear made of an unfamiliar metal, heavier than steel, and a hand-drawn map of the basement, showing a hidden panel beneath the floor where the stabilizer base was buried. Ethan swallowed hard. The only way to finish the stabilizer was to go back down there. He sank onto the edge of the bed, holding his head in his hands. Returning to the basement felt like suicide. Yet if he did nothing, the fracture would spread beyond the house. It would swallow the town. Perhaps more. His uncle had tried to contain it alone, but the final entries made one thing clear. The basement had grown stronger over the years. It fed on the passage of time and the minds of those who neared it. Doing nothing was not an option. He stood slowly, pocket watches ticking against his chest. He gathered the gear, the diagram, and the map. As he stepped into the hallway, something strange caught his attention. A faint scraping sound, the kind metal makes when dragged across wood. He followed the sound carefully, each step sending a tremor up his legs. The sound came from the living room. Ethan rounded the corner and froze. The grandfather clock from the basement stood in the center of the room, not broken, not frozen, ticking. Each tick echoed unnaturally, like a slow explosion rippling through the air. The hands spun rapidly, then stopped, then reversed, then stopped again. Ethan stared in horror as the clock face bulged outward slightly, like something pressing from within. The scraping sound returned. The basement door was opening again. This time, Ethan did not run. He moved toward it, driven by a mix of fear and resolve. The door creaked wider, revealing not stairs, but a swirling void of amber and shadow, like liquid time bending around itself. A faint glow pulsed at the center, matching the rhythm of the watches he carried. Ethan gripped the gear tightly. If the basement wanted him, it would have to face him. He stepped forward. Ethan did not feel the floor beneath him as he stepped toward the swirling void in place of the basement stairs. The air thickened instantly, pressing against his skin like warm gelatin. His breath caught in his throat, suspended as though the space around him refused to allow time to pass normally. The amber and shadow vortex pulsed like a living heart, expanding and contracting in slow, deliberate rhythm. Each pulse sent a vibration through Ethan's bones, echoing the ticking of the pocket watches he held. He tightened his grip on the strange gear in his right hand, feeling the cool metal dig into his palm. Whatever this place was becoming, he knew he had crossed a threshold he could not step back from easily. The moment Ethan's foot crossed the doorway, the house behind him blurred, walls stretched impossibly far, then snapped back. Colors washed into each other like wet paint pulled in opposite directions. He blinked hard, trying to reorient himself, but the world refused to stabilize. The vortex swallowed him without force, as if pulling him in with nothing more than expectation. The ground beneath him dissolved, and yet he did not fall. Instead, he drifted downward through layers of dim amber light that rippled gently, each ripple showing glimpses of the basement as it used to be. Wooden shelves flickered in and out. Tools appeared, vanished, then reappeared facing the wrong direction. A jar rolled across the floor in reverse, breaking before it could fall. He was inside the fracture. His uncle had described these temporal pockets in the journals, but reading about them was nothing like standing in one. Ethan felt his heartbeat separate into two rhythms, one fast, one slow, both echoing out of sync. Shadows drifted across his vision, some belonging to him, others moving independently. He reached out instinctively, but the shadows scattered like smoke in reverse, pulling themselves back into shape further away. A low hum resonated throughout the chamber. The amber glow intensified, revealing the fractured basement floor beneath him. It was still the basement, but transformed. Cracks etched across the concrete pulsed with dim golden light, forming intricate patterns he recognized from the diagrams. At the center of the room lay a circular indentation, matching the stabilizer base his uncle designed. Ethan drifted gently downward until his feet touched solid ground again. The air trembled, voices layered over one another, whispering in countless tones, calling his name, calling others. Ethan, Nathaniel, help us. Leave now. Come closer. The voices collided, splintered, and recombined, sounding like memories scraped across glass. Ethan clenched his teeth, trying to focus on the diagrams in his mind. If he panicked, the fracture would sense it. It fed on confusion, on fear. He knelt beside the indentation and brushed away loose dust. Beneath it, faint engravings spiraled outward, forming a channel for the stabilizer components. His uncle had built the foundation, but never completed the machine. Ethan placed the strange metal gear into the center. The floor reacted immediately. Light coursed through the gear's teeth, illuminating symbols along the floor in a pattern like spreading veins. A cold draft swept across his back. Ethan turned sharply. Something stood near the edge of the chamber. At first, it looked like a silhouette, but the longer he stared, the more details emerged. The figure shifted between forms. A tall man with sunken eyes, a child reaching out, his uncle whispering frantically, a version of Ethan himself, older, eyes hollow, reaching toward him as if trying to warn him away. The images flickered like frames from broken film, each variant overlapping the others in a chaotic loop. It was not one entity. It was every echo of every person who had ever stepped into the fracture, and they were watching him. He stepped backward, Heart pounding, the pocket watches ticked frantically, faster than normal, their rhythm distorting. The fractured echoes moved closer, bending the amber air around them. The older version of Ethan stepped forward, his movements jerky, as though reality rendered him in slow motion. His voice emerged in fragments. "Do not finish it." Ethan stumbled. "Why? What happens if I do?" The echo shook violently, face distorting. Another voice overlapped his words. "Younger, desperate. It chooses the anchor." The chamber vibrated. The voices began chanting, spiraling into a discordant hum that made the air wobble. Ethan looked back at the stabilizer base. The gear pulsed brighter. Something within the fracture responded. Awakening. The basement wanted an anchor, a living one. His uncle had tried and failed. Now the fracture had chosen Ethan. "No," he whispered. "You don't get to choose." Pulled the pocket watches from his jacket and placed them on either side of the gear. Light shot upward, forming two pillars of gold that converged above the stabilizer. The fractured chamber shook violently. Shadows writhed across the walls like serpents trapped beneath glass. Ethan followed the diagram, adjusting the gear and aligning the watches so their ticking synced perfectly. The stabilizer glowed brighter, illuminating runes across the floor. The fractured echoes screamed, not in pain, in protest. The chamber convulsed. Ethan lost his footing as the ground cracked beneath him. Time stuttered. His vision split into overlapping frames. One version of him fell left, another fell right, another remained standing, gripping the stabilizer base with trembling hands. The fracture was trying to tear him apart across every timeline. Ethan shouted, forcing his mind to anchor on a single rhythm, the ticking of the watches. Steady, real, present. He slammed his hand down, locking the gear into final position. A shockwave erupted. Amber light flooded the chamber, blinding him. The fractured echoes shrieked, their forms unraveling like smoke caught in a storm. The vortex compressed inward, dragging everything toward the stabilizer, as if the machine were consuming the distortion itself. Ethan felt the air implode around him. The pressure crushed against his ribs, against his skull, threatening to collapse him into nothing. Then a voice broke through the chaos. "You must choose to stay." Ethan gasped, struggling against the pull. The stabilizer demanded a living anchor. Without one, it could not complete its function. Ethan felt the fracture tugging at his body, urging him to surrender, to become part of the eternal loop. Another voice echoed, his uncle's, "Fight it, Ethan." He did. With the last of his strength, he forced himself back, pulling away from the stabilizer's hungry light. His body tore free from the pull with a force that knocked him onto the fractured floor. Light exploded outward. The vortex collapsed. Silence swallowed the chamber. Ethan lay on the cold ground, gasping, trembling, unsure whether he was alive or trapped in another broken moment. The pocket watches lay beside him, cracked but still ticking faintly. The stabilizer base glowed once, then went dark. He had stopped the basement from opening, but he had not closed it. Ethan lay on the fractured basement floor, but the floor no longer felt like solid ground. It pulsed faintly, as though breathing beneath him. Each pulse sent a trembling wave through the chamber, making watching the dim amber light flicker across the widened cracks. The stabilizer base had gone silent. The gear no longer glowed, yet the fracture itself still lived, still rippled, still reached outward with a slow, deliberate hunger. Ethan sat upright with effort, feeling the weight of exhaustion crash over him in a way that felt unnatural, as if time itself pulled against his limbs. He checked the pocket watches. Both were cracked, their hands twitching in irregular bursts. They had not stopped. They refused to stop, but they ticked with a strange, uneven rhythm, no longer anchors of stable time. The chamber around him shifted, the walls folded inward, then stretched outward again like elastic pulled too far. Ethan blinked rapidly. His vision stuttered for a moment, dividing into two separate frames before snapping back. He pressed his palm against the cold floor, grounding himself as best he could. The fracture was unstable, more unstable than before. The stabilizer had weakened it, but not sealed it. The vortex had collapsed, but the wound remained. His uncle wrote about this possibility. Redirecting the fracture without anchoring it would create turbulence, temporal shockwaves that could spread beyond the basement. Ethan shuddered at the thought. The house above might already be warped beyond recognition. He forced himself to stand. His muscles shook. He felt stretched, as though parts of him existed half a second behind the wrath. The shadows in the chamber reacted to his movement. They rippled, converging toward him, not as figures this time, but as drifting smears of darkness shaped by thought rather than form. He stepped back instinctively, and the shadows mirrored him, pulling away and then surging forward again in a pattern that felt almost curious. He realized the echoes were not gone. They had simply been reshaped by the stabilizer's partial activation. They no longer had distinct faces or voices, but their presence lingered in the air like smoke. A faint whisper brushed the back of his mind. Ethan. The voice was not layered or distorted this time. It sounded like his uncle, clearer than before. Ethan spun around, scanning the chamber. The shadows paused, hovering. The whisper repeated, softer now. Ethan, follow the light. A single line of amber glow appeared along the chamber wall, stretching like a crack forming in slow motion. Ethan approached cautiously. The crack widened until it revealed a narrow corridor formed from overlapping layers of the basement. He could see fragments of old shelves, the outline of the staircase, and shimmering static where moments overlapped. His uncle's voice whispered again, urging him forward. Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead, feeling the tremors in his hands. He stepped into the corridor. The moment he did, the temperature dropped. The air thickened again. Time pulled away from him in strands, each strand showing brief, disjointed images as he walked. A flicker of his uncle hunched over the stabilizer, a glimpse of Ethan as a child, standing near the locked basement door, a shadow leaning over him while he slept. The corridor forced him to witness scattered memories, fractured possibilities, things that happened and things that almost happened. He kept moving, refusing to let the visions distract him. Whatever his uncle wanted him to see lay further ahead. As he progressed, the corridor opened into a small pocket chamber. This one was dimmer, quieter, almost serene compared to the chaos behind him. At the center stood a wooden table. On it lay a journal, smaller than the others, newer, clean, untouched by dust or time. Ethan approached with caution. When his fingers brushed the cover, the amber light in the chamber flickered softly. He opened the journal. The first page bore his uncle's handwriting, but steadier than the frantic notes in the other books. The words struck Ethan with a chill. If you are reading this, it means the fracture has chosen you. Ethan swallowed hard, forcing himself to read on. The journal detailed his uncle's discoveries in a more organized manner. The basement fracture was not an accident. It was an opening created by a disruption in time long before the house existed. His uncle had discovered that the fracture moved through locations over centuries, attaching itself to individuals whose perception of time was sensitive. His uncle had only been the most recent caretaker, and now the fracture had attached itself to Ethan. Ethan turned the page. I tried to anchor it to myself. I failed. It rejected me. It saw you instead. It has been waiting for you since you were a child, perhaps earlier. Goosebumps crawled along Ethan's arms. He remembered the night he stood sleepwalking at the top of the basement stairs, his uncle dragging him away in terror. He always thought it had been a nightmare, but the fracture had reached for him then. A marking, a claim. He flipped another page. The stabilizer can redirect the fracture and weaken its influence, but it cannot close it without an anchor, and the anchor must be chosen willingly. The fracture cannot force a choice. It can only influence. Ethan exhaled sharply. The stabilizer almost consumed him because the machine mistook his hesitation for consent. It believed he was choosing to stay, but he resisted. He broke free. His uncle's next words struck him like a blow. If you refuse to anchor the fracture, you must find a way to contain it permanently. I believe a secondary seal exists. Something older, something buried deeper within the structure of the house. You must reach it before the fracture adapts again. A tremor rolled through the chamber. The walls shook. Shadows seeped in from the corridor, drifting closer. The fracture was adapting already. Ethan read the final lines quickly. You will know the seal when you hear it. It speaks without sound. It listens when no one speaks, and it hides at the end of the oldest path. The journal ended abruptly. No signature, no final plea, nothing. Ethan closed the book slowly and looked around the chamber. The oldest path. The phrase repeated in his mind. What part of the house existed before everything else? The foundation, the lowest point, deeper than the basement floor. He needed to go down, further down. The corridor behind him twisted violently. Shadows surged inward. Reacting to his realization, the chamber floor split apart, revealing a narrow descent carved from layers of shifting stone and fractured time. Amber light flickered from below, pulsing like a heartbeat. Ethan gripped the journal tight and stepped toward the chasm. The basement had opened again, this time downward, and the oldest path waited for him in the darkness below. Ethan braced himself at the edge of the newly formed chasm, the air rushing up from below in heavy, uneven breaths. The descent looked impossibly dark, deeper than the foundation of any house should allow. Amber glimmers flickered within the void, like the heartbeat of something ancient stirring in its sleep. Ethan clutched the journal to his chest, feeling the slight warmth radiating from the cover. His uncle's final message echoed in his mind: the oldest path, the seal that spoke without sound. He did not know what waited for him beneath the fracture, only that every second he hesitated, risked letting the anomaly spread through the rest of the world. He lowered himself carefully, his feet finding small ledges carved into the stone. The walls around him pulsed with shifting memories, the faint silhouettes of past echoes sliding through the amber light as though swimming in liquid time. Some silhouettes looked human, others did not. Their movements were distorted, fragmented between frames. Ethan forced his gaze downward, refusing to acknowledge the whispers forming behind him. He knew the fracture fed on attention. If he listened, it would strengthen. The descent twisted abruptly. The stone shifted under his hand as if alive, curving into a spiraling tunnel. Ethan slid the journal into his jacket and gripped the uneven wall. He could hear something faint below, a slow, rhythmic thrum, deeper and steadier than the pulses of the fracture above. It was older, colder. It vibrated through the stone like the toll of a subterranean bell. Ethan descended faster now, driven by urgency and fear. The thrum grew louder, not threatening but commanding, like a summons. The tunnel suddenly opened into a vast cavern. Ethan froze at the edge, breath stalling in his throat. The chamber stretched far beyond what could exist beneath the house. Pillars of black stone rose from the ground, twisting like roots, their surfaces engraved with symbols he had never seen. Amber light oozed from cracks in the ceiling, dripping down like molten honey and pooling into rivers of shimmering liquid time across the cavern floor. The rivers flowed in slow, deliberate loops, ignoring gravity and direction, bending around the stone pillars without touching them. At the center of the chamber was something Ethan did not expect. A door, enormous, ancient, carved from some pale stone that glowed faintly. The door stood upright, unsupported by any wall. It was cracked slightly open, revealing nothing but darkness beyond. No hinges, no seams, no markings except a single circular indentation at its center. The indentation was the exact size of the strange gear Ethan carried. He stepped forward slowly, heart pounding. The thrum intensified with each step, vibrating through his bones. The door was the seal. The oldest path led to it. His uncle had been right. It spoke without sound. The thrum was not noise. It was instruction, a message carried through pressure and memory. Ethan approached the indentation, holding the gear up to the faint amber glow. The gear pulsed with a quiet warmth. It belonged here. It had always belonged here. He thought of the stabilizer above, half finished, incomplete. Perhaps the stabilizer had never been the true solution. Perhaps the basement fracture was merely the latest rupture caused by whatever force lay beyond this ancient door. He lifted the gear. The cavern reacted instantly. Rivers of amber light surged, rising into the air like tendrils reaching toward Ethan. Shadows peeled away from the walls, gathering into clusters that resembled human shapes. The silhouettes from the fracture had followed him, drawn to the seal. Their forms flickered rapidly, as though they were struggling to remain coherent this deep in the cavern. Ethan held his breath and pressed the gear into the indentation. The door shuddered. A booming vibration jolted through the chamber, shaking stone loose from the ceiling. Light erupted from the cracks in the door, blinding Ethan and forcing him to shield his face. The silhouettes screamed, not with voices, but with a distortion that shook the cavern like a collapsing whirl. They recoiled from the door, dissolving into swirling fragments. The door began to close. Slowly, heavily, as though resisting centuries of pressure. Ethan stumbled backward, watching in awe and fear. The light dimmed as the crack narrowed. Amber rivers slowed. Shadows withdrew, but something was wrong. Ethan felt it before he saw it. A pull at his chest, a force not from the door, but from behind him. He turned sharply. The fracture had followed him down. A swirling mass of amber and shadow twisted through the tunnel opening, stretching like a limb made of broken time. It pulsed angrily, lashing toward the door. Ethan realized with horror that the fracture was trying to stop the seal from closing. It understood what was happening, and it refused. The force at Ethan's chest grew stronger. The fracture was trying to pull him into itself, to use him as an anchor to keep the door open. Ethan dug his heels into the stone floor, gripping a nearby pillar. His arms burned with effort as the pull intensified. The journal fell from his jacket, sliding across the floor and opening to the last written page. The door cannot close until the fracture releases its claim. Ethan's breath caught. The fracture had chosen him as its mark. It would not release him willingly, and without release, the seal could not shut completely. He watched in panic as the door creaked to a halt. Half-sealed, light leaking through the narrowing gap. The fracture's limb wrapped around his chest, pulling harder. His ribs felt as though they would snap. He gritted his teeth, screaming as he pulled back with everything he had. His fingers slipped, his arms trembled. The fracture surged, then the cavern changed. A new sound filled the chamber, ticking, faint, broken, but real. The cracked pocket watches in Ethan's jacket vibrated violently, their glass shards glowing with a strange golden light. The light spread across his torso, forming a shield of shimmering patterns that pushed back against the fracture's pull. Ethan gasped. The watches were rejecting the fracture's claim. He grabbed the watches, one in each hand. They glowed brighter, pulsing in unison like twin hearts. Ethan shouted through gritted teeth and stepped forward, pushing against the fracture's pull. Each step strained his muscles, but the watches pushed the fracture backward, inch by inch. When he reached the door, he pressed both glowing watches against the stone. The cavern exploded with light. The fracture screamed. The door slammed shut with a thunderous roar that echoed through every corner of the chamber. Silence. Ethan collapsed to his knees, chest heaving. The watches dimmed, their cracks widening, their ticking slowing to silence. The fracture was sealed, but the silence that followed felt wrong. Too deep, too final. Ethan raised his head, The cavern was changing again. Ethan staggered to his feet as the cavern shifted around him, its once vast expanse now trembling like a living creature recoiling from pain. The sealed stone door no longer glowed. Instead, thin cracks of dull gray light pulsed at its edges, as though something on the other side continued to test its strength. Ethan stumbled backward, bracing himself against one of the twisted stone pillars. His chest heaved, his ribs ached, but he was alive. The fracture had been sealed, and the ancient seal had accepted the sacrifice of the pocket watches instead of him. Yet something in the cavern's silence felt deeply wrong, a stillness too absolute, too heavy. The air no longer stirred, dust no longer drifted, even his breath seemed muted, as if the chamber were swallowing sound whole. He forced himself upright, dizziness tugging at his vision. The amber rivers that once flowed around the pillars now sat completely still, frozen mid-ripple like strands of solid glass. Ethan approached one and touched its surface with trembling fingers. The amber substance was cold and unyielding, no longer fluid. It was as if time within the cavern had momentarily locked itself. He frowned. If sealing the fracture had frozen the flow of temporal energy, then the cavern was no longer alive in the same way. But that did not mean it was safe. A low rumble reverberated through the chamber, deep and distant, not from the sealed door. From behind him, Ethan spun around. At first, he saw nothing but shadows pooling along the cavern floor. But then the shadows rose, slowly, deliberately, forming into a towering figure that resembled a man sculpted from darkness itself. No face, no features, only a silhouette carved from absence. It stood almost twice Ethan's height, shoulders broad, posture heavy and ancient. Ethan's pulse quickened. This was no fractured echo. The fracture echoes flickered, broke, and reformed constantly. This figure moved with terrifying cohesion. The cavern trembled again. The shadow giant stepped forward, and though its feet made no sound, the entire chamber shuddered with each movement. Ethan staggered backward, instinctively reaching for the gear embedded in the door, only to remember that the gear was no longer his to use. It now belonged to the seal, and this thing did not seem hindered by it. The shadow giant extended a hand toward him. The shape of its fingers stretched unnaturally long, bending like smoke. Ethan's breath hitched. The cavern's silence pressed into his ears like pressure from deep underwater. Then, without warning, sound rushed back into the world all at once. Ethan gasped as the sudden surge of noise nearly knocked him off his feet. The amber rivers cracked, the stone pillars groaned, the sealed door throbbed with a deep pulse. The giant spoke, not with a voice, but with vibrations in the stone beneath Ethan's feet. The message rattled through his bones. "You have interrupted the cycle." Ethan shook his head, trying to understand. The fracture was killing everything. I had to seal it. The giant stepped closer. Its shadow expanded beyond its form, stretching across the cavern floor like a spreading stain. The cycle sustains the seal. Without it, the seal decays. Ethan froze. He turned toward the ancient door. The cracks pulsed faster now, each pulse brighter than before. He felt cold dread sweep over him. Sealing the fracture had weakened the door. The fracture had served as a stabilizing force for the ancient mechanism. Without the fracture's flowing energy, the seal risked collapsing entirely. His uncle had not been trying to close the fracture for good. He had been trying to control it, to balance it. Ethan had disrupted that balance. "You mean it will break open again?" Ethan whispered. The giant's faceless head tilted. "Unless the cycle is restored." Ethan backed away. "No, there is no cycle anymore." The stabilizer, the giant's shadow, rose around him, engulfing half the cavern. "You must choose. Become the anchor or rebuild the cycle." The words hit Ethan like a physical blow. Become the anchor. He remembered the stabilizer's pull, how close he had come to being trapped inside it. Anchors did not survive. They became part of the fracture forever, trapped in a loop of endless time. "No," he whispered. "I won't." The giant stepped closer, its massive shape towering over him like a collapsing night. "Then restore the cycle before the seal fails." The ground trembled violently. Another crack split across the ancient door, this time releasing a gust of cold wind that extinguished the cavern's ambient glow. Ethan shielded his face when he lowered his hand. The giant was gone. Only the echo of its words lingered. "Restore the cycle." Ethan looked around desperately. The cavern showed signs of rapid destabilization. The amber rivers were starting to melt again, dripping upward instead of down. The stone pillars cracked along their roots. The sealed door bulged inward. The fracture's energy was returning, but in a chaotic surge that threatened to break the seal rather than stabilize it. He scrambled back toward the tunnel he came from, hoping to find a clue left in the journal. But the moment he reached the tunnel entrance, it collapsed in a thunderous cascade of stone. Ethan leaped back as debris sealed the passage completely. He was trapped. The chamber shook again. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Ethan's breath quickened. "Think," he whispered to himself. "There must be another path." His uncle's writings had mentioned the oldest path leading downward, but they had never said there was only one. He turned toward the far side of the cavern. There, half hidden by darkness, lay an archway formed from curving stone. Amber light seeped from beneath it like smoke. Ethan moved carefully toward it, the sealed door groaning ominously behind him. As he reached the archway, he noticed something carved into the stone, symbols similar to those on the stabilizer base, except older. Rougher, more primal, his fingers traced the markings. They vibrated faintly, resonating with the same steady thrum the seal once held. A deep breath steadied him. He stepped through the archway. Beyond it lay a narrow bridge stretching across an abyss. The abyss below churned with swirling amber brightness, as if he were staring directly into the flow of uncontained time. The bridge wavered, formed not from stone, but from overlapping layers of fractured moments. His footsteps created ripples across it, altering the bridge's texture each time he stepped. At the center of the bridge hovered something extraordinary, a sphere of amber light. suspended in the air, spinning slowly, radiating warmth. This was the heart of the cycle, the source the fracture drew from, and without guidance, it was destabilizing. Ethan stepped closer. The sphere reacted immediately, shifting its glow, almost recognizing him. A low hum vibrated through the bridge. He understood. He had two choices. He could steady the flow manually, rebuilding the cycle by connecting himself temporarily to the sphere. Dangerous, but not fatal. Or he could accept the ancient role the seal demanded, become the permanent anchor, bind himself to the sphere forever. No life, no future, no escape. The cavern roared again behind him. The sealed door split open another inch. He had only moments. Ethan closed his eyes and chose. Ethan kept his eyes closed as the cavern roared around him, the ancient seal groaning under the stress of unraveling time. His breath trembled in his chest. The bridge beneath his feet shimmered and wavered, folding in on itself like a fraying ribbon of moments. The sphere of amber light before him pulsed with increasing urgency. It knew he was hesitating. The entire chamber knew. The fracture's remnants knew. Even the sealed door behind him seemed to strain forward, as if holding its breath, waiting for his choice. He opened his eyes. The sphere floated silently at the center of the bridge, rotating in slow, deliberate cycles. Each rotation exposed a different layer of light, like peeling back the rings of a tree. He sensed vastness inside it, something ancient and powerful, but not malicious, not like the fracture. This, he realized, was order, not chaos. If the fracture was a wound, this sphere was the reminder of what time had been before the wound. Pure, unbroken, but even purity could be dangerous. Ethan reached forward. The moment his fingers neared the sphere, the bridge beneath him let out a deep, vibrating hum, as though warning him or steadying him. He hesitated, recalling the shadow giant's warning. Restore the cycle or become the anchor. The seal cannot hold without balance. His uncle's words echoed next. A living anchor is required only when the cycle dies. If he rebuilt the cycle, he might survive this. But what if he miscalculated? What if he misread the instructions? What if touching the sphere bound him permanently the same way becoming the anchor would? Another crack thundered across the cavern. The sealed door split wider, releasing a blast of freezing air that extinguished several amber cracks in the ceiling. The cavern floor trembled, forcing Ethan to drop to one knee. Dust rained from above. He knew time was running out. If the door failed completely, whatever lay on the other side would spill into reality. And Ethan had a grim suspicion it would make the fracture seem harmless by comparison. He forced himself upright. "I am not dying down here," he whispered. "Not as an anchor, not as anything sacrifice." He placed his palm against the sphere. Instantly, the world inverted. His breath tore from his lungs. A deafening rush of sound filled his ears, like listening to 10,000 clocks all ticking in opposite directions. The bridge shattered beneath him, dissolving into streaks of light. The cavern vanished. The sealed door disappeared. The amber rivers erupted into ascending spirals of fire and then collapsed back into darkness. Ethan was nowhere and everywhere. The sphere had pulled him into itself. Time streamed around him in luminous currents. Moments flickered like drifting embers. Some he recognized. His childhood, standing with his uncle at the shore. His first day away from home, his mother's distant voice calling him inside. Other moments were not his. People he never met, places he had never stood, futures that had not yet happened, pasts too distant to comprehend. Ethan floated through the river of existence, the sphere's warmth enveloping him like a cocoon of memory. Then came the voice, not words spoken aloud, but meaning pressed directly into his mind. The cycle was broken. You have touched its heart. Images appeared then, the fracture forming in the basement generations ago. The first person who found it, the seal crafted by ancient hands long before the house was ever built. A balance maintained by guardians through centuries until the cycle collapsed, until the fracture grew too strong, until his uncle failed to contain it. The light swirled. Ethan saw the shadow giant once, a guardian itself bound to the cavern, unable to act without risking imbalance. It had watched countless attempts to restore the cycle. All had failed. The voice filled him again. But you are unbound. You are new to the pattern. Ethan felt a surge of confusion. What do you want from me? He whispered into the endless river. To choose. The sphere brightened. Two paths formed from the flowing light, splitting in opposite directions like branches of a glowing tree. On one path, he saw the cycle restoring itself, the sphere stabilizing, the amber rivers flowing again, the seal reinforcing, the fracture shrinking into a harmless echo, and Ethan stepping away alive. But there was a cost. He would carry the sphere's imprint for the rest of his life. Moments drifting out of order, memories reshaping, time bending subtly around him. He would never again experience the world as others did. He would be the fracture's survivor, a man living slightly out of sync. On the second path, he saw the anchor's fate, Ethan standing at the center of the cycle, absorbing the fracture's power, becoming its living stabilizer. The seal would hold for centuries, no future guardian required, no risk of collapse. But Ethan would cease to exist as a man. He would dissolve into the cycle itself, an eternal watcher trapped between necons, a myth, a memory, a ghost beneath the house. His breath trembled. The second path was noble, heroic even, but it was also annihilation. Another crack tore through the cavern's memory, snapping the vision. The sphere pulsed violently, pushing him back into his body. Ethan gasped as the cavern reformed around him, the bridge rebuilding itself from overlapping shards of time. He staggered forward. The sealed door bulged again, releasing a jagged beam of light that split the cavern floor. Time twisted violently, pulling and releasing in unstable surges. The sphere dimmed, waiting. Ethan touched it a second time, this time gently. Warmth spread through him. His decision was made. He would not become the anchor, but he would rebuild the cycle, no matter the consequences. The sphere flared. The light shot upward, expanding into a spiral that enveloped the cavern. The amber rivers liquefied again, flowing smoothly. The stone pillars straightened. The sealed door's cracks healed halfway, enough to hold but not close fully. Energy surged into Ethan's chest, marking him, a warmth that branded itself into his bones, into his memories, into his future. The cycle restarted, slow, deliberate, alive. Ethan fell backward as the sphere gently lowered itself into the center of the abyss. The bridge dissolved beneath it, replaced by flowing light that receded into the cavern walls. The amber glow softened, the air warmed, the tremors ceased. He had succeeded, but the cost hit him immediately. A single second repeated, then another stretched. Shadows lagged behind his movement. Ethan stumbled as the cavern bent around him in slow motion. His perception had changed. The sphere's imprint had taken hold. He wiped sweat from his forehead and looked toward the sealed door. It remained closed. Barely. He wasn't safe yet, but he was alive, and time, fractured or not, now obeyed him just enough to keep moving forward. Ethan remained standing only because the cavern held him up. Time rippled around him in uneven waves, bending the world into a slow stutter before snapping forward again. The imprint of the sphere pulsed inside his chest, syncing with his heartbeat in irregular rhythms. Every breath he drew felt slightly displaced, landing a fraction of a second before or after he intended, but the cycle was restored. The cavern was stabilizing, and for the first time since he stepped into the basement, Ethan sensed something resembling order. He took a step forward. The ground beneath him responded instantly, as if adjusting to his altered presence. Shadows stretched backward a moment too late, then caught up in a jarring flicker. The sealed door in the distance glowed softly, its trembling more controlled now. He exhaled, relieved to see fewer cracks glowing along its surface. The sphere's energy had reached it in time, but something else had changed. The cavern was listening to him. The air shifted as he moved, subtly aligning itself to the pulse inside his chest. The ancient pillars hummed with low, resonant tones. The amber rivers flowed in slow, looping spirals that bent in his direction, following his steps like living currents. It was as if the cycle itself recognized him not as an anchor, but as a part of its new balance. A caretaker, a conduit, a witness to time's repair. Ethan approached the spot where the bridge once extended over the abyss. Now only a faint shimmer marked the air, a residue of temporal energy that refracted the cavern's light. He reached out cautiously, and the shimmer bent around his fingertips like fabric caught in a soft breeze. Before he could test it further, a sharp vibration rippled across the cavern. He froze. It came from the sealed door. The door bulged outward again, though not as violently as before. It throbbed with a steady rhythm, like a heartbeat fighting against a crust of stone. Ethan narrowed his eyes. The sphere had stabilized the cycle, But the seal was not fully healed. Something behind the door remained restless. A faint whisper drifted across the cavern. "Ethan." He turned sharply. The voice was not the fracture. It was not the giant. It was familiar, human, soft with exhaustion. Ethan scanned the cavern, eyes darting across pillars and drifting shadows. The voice came again, clearer. "Ethan, help me." A chill swept across his spine. That voice belonged to his uncle. He stepped forward, heart pounding. "Uncle Nathaniel." Silence. Only the soft humming of the cavern responded. Ethan swallowed hard. He had seen echoes earlier, versions of people fractured across timelines. But this voice did not sound fractured. It sounded present, real. He moved closer to the sealed door. Each step made his pulse quicken, the imprint inside his chest vibrating with increasing intensity. The closer he drew, the more the air thickened, resisting him like a dense fog. The door's surface rippled, showing faint impressions of movement behind it. Shadows shifting in patterns that resembled a man's silhouette. Ethan reached the base of the door and placed his palm against its cold stone. The response was immediate. Light flashed through the cracks in a blinding surge. Ethan stumbled backward as a wave of force pushed him away. He hit the cavern floor hard, breath knocked from his lungs. When he looked up, faint images flickered across the door's surface like reflections on water. His uncle's face appeared, tired, pale, eyes filled with pleading urgency. Ethan scrambled to his feet. "Uncle, you're alive. You're behind the seal." Nathaniel's expression wavered, as though struggling against distortion. His lips moved without sound at first. Then the cavern translated his voice into vibrations Ethan felt through the stone pillars. "I am not alive, but I am not gone." Ethan's chest tightened. The imprint pulsed painfully, syncing with his rising fear. "You restored the cycle," his uncle continued. "But you must understand, the seal holds both directions." "What does that mean?" "The seal keeps what lies behind from escaping." A low rumble echoed across the cavern. "But it also keeps those who fall into it from returning." Ethan's breath caught. "You're trapped behind the seal." Nathaniel nodded slowly, his form flickering like a candle flame. "I attempted to anchor the fracture decades ago. I failed. My body died, but my mind remained in the cycle's remnants. The seal used me like a hinge, a part of its structure. I was neither alive nor lost entirely." Ethan felt dizzy. His uncle had been living in a temporal limbo for years. Ethan pressed his hand against the door again. "Tell me how to get you out." His uncle's expression shifted not into hope, but into fear. "Do not weaken the seal. If it opens, even for a moment, everything we have done collapses. The fracture will return stronger, and the thing behind it will emerge." A cold draft swept across the cavern as if responding to his words. Ethan's throat tightened. Then why call for help? Nathaniel hesitated. His next words came fractured, trembling. "Because the seal is changing. It reacts to you now. Your imprint, your presence. It listens to you. It might choose you." Ethan staggered backward. "Choose me for what?" Nathaniel's face dissolved into static before reforming with a jolt. To replace me, a deep vibration rattled the cavern, stronger than any before. The sealed door glowed red at its edges. Ethan's fear spiked. I'm not becoming the anchor. I rebuilt the cycle. His uncle nodded, expression softening. I know, and that is why we still have time. Ethan's breath steadied. Tell me what I need to do. Nathaniel's face flickered again. There is one more task. The cycle is restored, but the seal must be reinforced from this side. You must strengthen its boundary before something breaks through. How? Look behind you. Ethan turned. The cavern had changed again. At the far end, opposite the sealed door, a massive wall of amber crystal had risen from the ground like a jagged monolith. It pulsed with dim golden light, vibrating in harmony with the cycle's heartbeat. Embedded deep within the crystal were countless shadows, faces, forms, echoes, all frozen mid-movement. Ethan stepped closer, heart pounding. The shadows within the crystal strained against the amber surface, pushing forward, distorting the surface with every twitch. He whispered, "What is this?" His uncle answered, "The remnants of the fracture, its hunger, its memory. They were drawn here when the cycle restarted, but they must be contained permanently." Ethan understood immediately. He had to seal the remnants inside the amber monolith, stabilize them, bind them, so they no longer drifted into the cycle or threatened the door. But how? As if in response, the imprint inside his chest flared. A burst of warmth surged through him. The cavern hummed. The amber monolith vibrated in anticipation. Nathaniel spoke one final time. Use the imprint. Give the cycle its final shape. Bind the remnants. And Ethan, he paused. Do not look directly at the memories. They will pull you in. His form dissolved completely. The door fell silent. Ethan turned toward the monolith, pulse racing. The remnants stirred violently within it, sensing his presence. He exhaled slowly, then raised his hands as the imprint's light burst outward, ready to reshape the future of the cycle or destroy him in the attempt. Ethan stood before the towering amber monolith, its surface trembling with the restless motion of the trapped remnants inside. Shadows writhed beneath the crystalline surface, stretching thin like smears of smoke pressed against glass. Their movements were frantic, disordered, grasping for release. The monolith pulsed in uneven rhythms, each pulse resonating through the cavern in waves of pressure that made the air ripple and Ethan's ears ache. The imprint within his chest responded to every vibration, heating, tightening, urging him forward with a force that felt both instinctual and imposed. He steadied his breathing. The cavern hummed in anticipation, as if watching, as if waiting. Ethan reached a hand toward the monolith, the warm glow in his chest intensifying. The shadows reacted instantly. They surged toward him, pressing violently against the amber, distorting its surface into jagged patterns. Their faceless forms twisted into familiar outlines, human, animal, unrecognizable shapes, all trying to catch his attention, to draw his gaze directly into their writhing memories. He remembered his uncle's final warning. Do not look directly at the memories. They will pull you in. Ethan shut his eyes tight and placed his palm against the cold surface. The response was immediate. The monolith convulsed beneath his touch, sending a shudder through the chamber. The amber pulses turned white-hot for a moment before dimming again. The imprint in his chest ignited, sending a lance of golden light through his arm and into the monolith. Ethan gasped, knees buckling as the energy exchange overwhelmed him. The shadows inside the amber shrieked in silence, their forms vibrating violently. A voice pressed into Ethan's mind, not spoken, but felt. Bind them. Give the cycle shape. Ethan clenched his jaw and pushed harder. Light flowed from him into the monolith in steady waves. The amber crystal resisted at first, rejecting the new pattern, trying to maintain its chaotic structure. But the imprint carried authority now. It carried the sphere's command. The cycle's pulse. The monolith began to soften, its rigid surface melting into a swirling vortex of translucent gold. Shadows writhed, pulling away from Ethan's touch, trying to retreat deeper into the crystal. He knew what he had to do. He opened his eyes, but only partially, allowing the faintest blur of the monolith to form, never focusing, never looking directly into the memories. Only shapes, only motion, enough to sense where the remnants were most unstable. He raised both hands, the imprint radiating through him like molten fire. The cavern's pillars vibrated, echoing his heartbeat. Amber rivers flowed more rapidly around him, curling upward to form spirals of motion that responded to his presence. The monolith screamed, not in sound, but in vibrations that rattled Ethan's bones. He stepped closer. The amber vortex thrashed, fragments of shadow slamming against the crystal walls. Ethan felt the pull of the memories, a gravitational force that tried to drag his thoughts into the remnants' illusions. A cold wave of fear washed over him. One moment he saw the monolith, the next he was standing in a kitchen. And from his childhood, light streaming through windows he thought he had forgotten. The smell of something cooking on the stove, his mother humming. The scene flickered like an old film, looping, freezing, stretching. A trap! Ethan forced his eyes closed and held his breath, clutching his chest. The imprint pulsed violently, breaking the illusion. When he opened his eyes again, the cavern returned, the monolith thrashing harder than before. His muscles trembled with exhaustion, but he refused to stop. The cycle needed form. The remnants needed containment. He pressed both palms firmly against the amber surface. Golden energy poured from him like liquid fire. The shadows recoil, twisting into tighter coils. Amber swelled and contracted, forming shapes around them. Ethan could feel the cycle shifting, aligning, reorganizing the chaotic remnants into something structured, something bound, something harmless. But the fight was brutal. Each time a remnant was captured by the forming pattern, another surged violently toward the surface, trying to consume Ethan's perception, to infect his mind with fractured memories. He saw glimpses of his uncle's final moments, glimpses of strangers screaming into the fracture, glimpses of futures that spiraled into impossible catastrophes. Each vision tried to pull him under. Ethan roared through gritted teeth and pushed back with the imprint's full force. Light burst from his chest like a star-going nova. The cavern lit up with golden brilliance. The monolith's surface expanded rapidly, amber rivers rising and merging with it. Pillars cracked and reformed, realigning into new patterns. The shadows shrieked silently, swallowed by forming sigils that locked them into place. Then, silence. The monolith froze, its surface smoothed into flawless crystal. No more writhing shadows, no more distorted faces, just a breathtaking slab of amber gold humming softly with the rhythm of the restored cycle. Ethan collapsed to his knees, chest heaving, sweat dripping from his brow. His vision swam in and out of focus. His limbs felt like lead. The imprint glowed faintly, no longer burning, but warm, steady, alive. He had done it. The remnants were sealed. The cycle was whole. A deep sigh of relief escaped him until the cavern floor rumbled. Ethan's head jerked up. The sealed door was glowing again, but not with strain, with awareness. A slow, deep pulse radiated from it, matching the monolith's rhythm, as if the two ancient constructs were speaking to one another for the first time in centuries. Ethan stood on unsteady legs. What now? He whispered to himself. The door vibrated, sending a beam of soft gold across the cavern. The beam struck the monolith, then bounced back toward Ethan, enveloping him in light. He gasped as the imprint responded, resonating with the golden current. His uncle's voice appeared faintly in his mind. The cycle accepts you. Ethan staggered backward. Accepts me. The cavern brightened. The door's cracks healed further. The monolith stabilized fully. Ethan's imprint pulsed steadily, syncing with both. He suddenly understood. He wasn't the anchor. He wasn't trapped. But he was now linked to the cycle, its living interpreter, its translator, its guardian, the one who maintained the balance. So the seal would never weaken again. He exhaled in disbelief, a caretaker of time, not forever unless he chose to be, but for as long as the cycle required his guidance. The cavern's glow softened, the pillar vibrations eased, the amber rivers slowed into gentle spirals. It was peaceful, calmer than he had ever seen it. But the calm broke instantly. A deep boom thundered through the cavern. Ethan spun around. A crack, thin but unmistakably real, had appeared across the sealed door. Not from strain, from something knocking. 3 distinct knocks, slow, deliberate. Ethan's blood ran cold. The door was not reacting to instability. Something behind it was trying to communicate. He stepped backward instinctively. The imprint pulsed sharply in warning. Another knock, louder, then a voice soft, distorted, distant, broke through the stone like a whisper from a world away. Ethan. Ethan froze. It wasn't his uncle. It wasn't an echo. It wasn't a memory. It was something else. Something ancient, something awake. Who are you? Ethan whispered. The cavern dimmed, air tightened. The voice came again. Not anchor, not guardian, not enough. Ethan's heartbeat spiked. The voice whispered one final phrase. The cycle is not complete. Ethan stood frozen as the final whisper faded, swallowed by the heavy silence of the cavern. The sealed door no longer pulsed with strain, but with awareness, as though whatever had spoken from the the other side was now listening, waiting for him to respond. The amber monolith behind him hummed steadily, a deep resonance that anchored the entire chamber. Yet the echo of that voice, ancient, calm, and impossibly certain, cut through everything. Not anchor, not guardian, not enough. Ethan's heart thudded against his ribs. The imprint in his chest pulsed sharply, reacting as if the words had been directed at it. Not him. A tremor spread through his body, the warm cycle energy within him flickering like a candle in sudden wind. He clutched his chest, steadying himself as the cavern darkened around him. "What do you mean it's not complete?" he whispered. The cavern answered only with distant cracks echoing through the stone pillars. Ethan backed away from the sealed door. The surface shifted, shimmering with pale gold like a thin membrane stretched over something vast and alive. The knock came again just once, and the stone beneath his feet vibrated in response. Ethan stumbled, breath tightening. The imprint flared again, unbidden, brightening beneath his skin. The monolith behind him responded instantly, glowing brighter, sending ripples of golden light across the cavern floor. It was as if both ancient constructs, the seal and the monolith, were reacting to each other, or to him. He turned toward the monolith, its crystalline surface no longer writhed. The remnants inside were silent, frozen in place, but the amber glow pulsed with an intelligence he hadn't noticed before. 9 slow pulses, then 3 fast. A pattern, a signal, a response to the sealed door. Ethan swallowed hard. "Are you trying to speak?" he asked quietly. A wave of warmth radiated from the monolith, passing through him like a gentle exhale. The cavern hummed. Even the amber rivers across the floor shimmered faintly, as though in agreement. The cycle was alive now, entirely alive. But something was missing. Ethan approached the monolith and placed his hand lightly against its surface, not to bind, not to command, but to listen. The imprint in his chest aligned instinctively, syncing with the monolith's hum. A vision flickered across his mind in flashes of amber and shadow. A door, a cycle, a breach, a hand reaching into the fracture. Long before Ethan was born. And then, a familiar symbol, the shifting sigil engraved on the brass key his uncle left for him. Ethan jerked back, breath catching. That symbol. He'd seen it before he understood anything about this place. But the monolith revealed something new. The symbol was a map, or a code, or a warning. He pressed his palm to the monolith again, letting the imprint sink deeper. More images formed. The fracture had not chosen Ethan randomly. It had followed the symbol, followed bloodlines, followed memory. His uncle, his uncle's mentor, caretakers before them for generations. Someone in Ethan's family had been tied to the cycle. He staggered, overwhelmed. Why me? Why not someone else? Anyone else? The monolith pulsed in response. Ethan's imprint throbbed painfully. The answer flowed through him not in words, but in certainty, because Ethan was the first to survive the cycle's touch and remain himself. All others had become echoes, fragments, or anchors lost within the fracture. The cycle chose him not because he was destined, but because he was the first who could bear the imprint without breaking. Ethan's knees weakened. He sat on the cavern floor, staring up at the sealed door. The crack across its surface glowed faintly, no longer threatening to widen, but refusing to fade, like an eye half open. "What do you want from me?" he whispered. The cavern answered with a low rumble. A light, thin as a thread, emerged from the crack in the sealed door. It drifted across the chamber like a floating spark, stopping several feet in front of Ethan. As he watched, the spark expanded into a small orb of pale gold light. It pulsed softly, flickering as though struggling to hold its shape. Ethan stood slowly, drawn to it despite his fear. The orb hovered in front of him. When he reached out a hand, the light expanded into a swirling pattern fluid, shifting but purposeful. Ethan realized what it was. A map, not of the cavern, not of the basement, not of the house. A map of the cycle itself. Lines branched outward like rivers of time. Nodes pulsed along the line's anchors. Pathways, remnants of events both past and future. At the center of everything pulsed a dark circle, the sealed door, and around it, countless lines twisted and converged, like threads pulled too tight. Ethan stepped back as the orb disassembled into fragments of shimmering gold, each one drifting back into the sealed door. His imprint pulsed in recognition, sending a sharp ache through his chest. He understood now. The cycle was not broken because of the fracture. The fracture was merely one point of failure. There were others, hidden, waiting. The voice behind the door hadn't warned him out of malice. It was informing him. The cycle required more than one restoration, more than one caretaker, more than one seal. Ethan staggered, overwhelmed. "This isn't just about this basement," he murmured. "It's everywhere." The monolith pulsed once in agreement. The sealed door pulsed twice. Ethan's imprint responded with 3 quick pulses of heat. A sequence, a message, a call. He took a deep, steadying breath. "Show me," he said quietly, directing the words toward the sealed door. The crack widened not with danger, but with light, radiant, controlled, safe. The light spilled across the cavern floor, forming an illuminated pathway that led toward a rock wall Ethan hadn't noticed before. As the light touched it, the wall dissolved like dust swept away by wind, revealing a narrow passageway lined with crystalline amber. Beyond it lay darkness, depth, possibility. Time itself waited. Ethan stepped forward, imprint glowing like a lantern beneath his ribs. The cavern hummed behind him, the monolith steady, the sealed door quiet but awake. Ethan crossed the threshold, leaving the chamber behind. The cycle was not complete, but he was going to finish it. Ethan stepped into the crystalline corridor, the walls glowing with slow, deliberate pulses of amber light. Each pulse traveled down the length of the tunnel like a living breath, illuminating jagged edges of crystal and rough stone. The air felt different here, denser, charged with a quiet electricity that made the hair on Ethan's arms rise. The imprint in his chest warmed in response, syncing with the corridor's rhythm as though the cycle itself recognized his presence. He inhaled deeply, steadying himself, then moved forward into the unknown. Behind him, the cavern slowly sealed itself, the dissolved stone crystallizing once more. A soft hum echoed through the chamber as the amber light receded, cutting off any clear view of where he had come from. Ethan glanced over his shoulder one last time. The sealed door and the monolith were no longer visible. Only darkness and echoes remained. The corridor ahead narrowed into a tight passage, bending slightly downward. As he walked, Ethan noticed whispers drifting through the air, not voices exactly, but impressions, memories. The corridor did not hold the remnants like the monolith had. Instead, it played them like distant songs, faint echoes of emotions and choices made long ago. He recognized none of them, yet every whisper carried weight, pulling lightly at his thoughts. He resisted the urge to focus on them. He had learned by now that attention was a trap. The floor beneath him shifted from smooth crystal to uneven stone. The corridor widened into a chamber that looked far older than anything he had seen in the cavern above. Here, the amber light dimmed, replaced by a deep blue radiance that emanated from thin streams of energy flowing along the walls like rivers. Ethan knelt beside one of the streams, watching the blue currents ripple. As he reached toward it, the imprint thrummed a warning, and he withdrew his hand immediately. These were timelines compressed, redirected, sealed away. The sphere had shown him glimpses of such things, but seeing them in physical form filled him with a cold awe. These were not his timelines. These were entire possibilities locked away by the cycle to prevent further fractures. A soft tapping sound echoed behind him. Ethan spun instantly. Nothing was there, only shadow and shifting blue light. He swallowed hard and pressed on. Deeper into the chamber, the walls rose higher, forming archways carved with ancient symbols, similar to those on the stabilizer base. But these symbols were cleaner, older, carved with a precision his uncle could never have replicated. They glowed faintly, responding as Ethan drew near. The cycle recognized him now. It expected him. It needed him. At the chamber's far end stood an altar made of dark stone, veined with silver light. Floating above it was an orb of condensed blue energy, swirling with fragments of memories, choices, and consequences. It pulsed with quiet sorrow. The imprint in Ethan's chest pulled him forward. This was another part of the cycle, another point of failure. He approached the altar cautiously. The blue orb flickered. Then a vision hit him like a shockwave. He saw a woman, one he had never met, standing in a room filled with broken clocks. Her hands trembled as she tried to repair one, whispering apologies to someone unseen. The scene shifted. She stood at the edge of a collapsed staircase, staring into darkness. Another shift. She ran through a forest where time looped around her steps. Ethan staggered back. These were not memories of the fracture. These were memories of another caretaker, one who had failed long before his uncle, someone the cycle had once chosen, only to lose. The vision dissolved. The chamber felt colder now, heavier. "Why show me this?" Ethan whispered. The orb pulsed once. "Because the cycle remembers." Ethan's heartbeat quickened. "Am I supposed to fix this too?" Another pulse. This time, the orb responded with faint whispers, drifting into his mind like threads of wind. Not fix, understand. The blue light expanded, enveloping him in a gentle wave. Ethan gasped as images formed again. This time not memories, but diagrams, instructions. The cycle was teaching him, showing him how its other branches functioned, how every point of time interconnected, how the fracture was only one of many wounds. Ethan absorbed as much as he could, though the torrent of information felt overwhelming. His imprint ached under the pressure, glowing brighter with each new revelation. When the surge finally ended, he stumbled, bracing himself against the altar. Something new had awakened in him, a deeper connection, a deeper responsibility. But before he could gather his thoughts, the chamber trembled with a deep, resonant sound. Not from the corridor, from the altar. The blue orb cracked. Ethan stepped back instinctively as hairline fractures spread across its surface. Glowing brighter with each pulse, the orb vibrated violently, releasing bursts of unstable energy. The air warped, distorting the edges of the chamber. Ethan shielded his face as a sharp crack split the orb open completely. Instead of shattering, the fragments hovered in the air, floating apart like petals of glass suspended in slow motion. At their center, something else formed. A hand, slender, translucent, glowing like faint starlight. It reached toward Ethan, trembling with effort. He froze. A voice, soft, fading, whispered inside his mind. "Help me!" Ethan stared in shock. The voice belonged to the woman from the vision. "What happened to you?" he asked quietly. The imprint pulsed in response. "Trapped. Too long. In the cycle." Her voice broke, splintering into static. Another pulse shook the chamber. The fractures in the orb grew larger. The hand trembled violently, threatening to dissolve. Ethan stepped forward despite the danger. "Tell me what to do," her voice echoed faintly. "Anchor me, or free me." Ethan's breath caught. Anchor meant binding her to the cycle, permanently restoring her role, but trapping her forever. Free meant severing her connection, releasing her completely, but risking destabilizing this branch of the cycle. He stared at her flickering hand. He didn't know her. He didn't know what she had sacrificed, what she had endured, but he could feel the strain in her voice, the exhaustion, the centuries of isolation. He clenched his fists. "I won't trap you." The chamber reacted instantly. The imprint in his chest ignited with blinding golden light. The blue orb shuddered violently, collapsing inward. The woman's voice cried out not in pain, but in relief. For a single moment, Ethan saw her clearly, a woman with pale eyes and a soft, weary smile. Then she dissolved into a streak of white light that shot upward, vanishing through the ceiling of the chamber like a star escaping gravity. The orb imploded, sending a wave of blue energy crashing outward. Ethan was thrown backward, hitting the stone floor hard. The entire chamber shuddered. The blue rivers twisted into spirals. The ancient symbols lit up in cascading patterns. The corridor behind him sealed shut, and the cycle shifted. The imprint throbbed violently as new pathways opened in his mind. He gasped, staring at the now empty altar. He had freed her, but in doing so, he had changed the rules of the cycle. Something new was forming, something unpredictable. And whatever lay deeper in this underground world had already begun to react. Ethan remained on the cold stone floor, the air around him trembling from the shock of what he had just done. The chamber pulsed with unstable light, its blue radiance flickering between brilliance and shadow. The freed caretaker's final burst of energy still echoed through the walls like a fading heartbeat. Ethan pushed himself upright, breathing hard, the imprint in his chest throbbing violently with new pressure. The cycle had shifted, its pattern had changed, and the chamber was reacting. The ancient symbols carved into the walls flickered in erratic bursts, no longer aligned in clean sequences, but scattered like shards of broken constellations. The streams of blue energy that had once flowed in controlled currents were now twisting into spirals and knots, intersecting and looping with disorienting force. Ethan tried to steady himself, gripping the altar for balance, but the floor vibrated beneath his feet as if the entire underground world were taking a breath and then holding it. The air went still, too still. Ethan's heartbeat filled the silence. 1, 2, 3. The chamber exhaled, but not with air, with time. A wave of compressed seconds blasted outward, bending the blue light into distorted ribbons. Ethan shielded his eyes as the blast rushed past him, bending sound, warping air, collapsing shadows into thin lines. The stone beneath him cracked in a perfect spiral, following the direction of the shift. When the wave finally dissipated, Ethan lowered his arm and blinked, disoriented. The chamber had changed. The altar was no longer cracked. It had reshaped itself into a more refined structure, sleeker, taller, carved with symbols he recognized from the cycle map. The blue orb was gone, but something else hovered above the altar now. A thin, vertical thread of white light, trembling like the string of a celestial instrument. Ethan stepped toward it. The thread pulsed. Once, twice, then split into 3 separate strands. They twisted around each other, weaving into a braid of luminous energy that hung suspended in the air. The imprint in Ethan's chest responded immediately, heating, pulling him forward with magnetic force. He recognized the sensation. This was a call, not from the fracture, not from the seal, but from the deeper cycle itself. He reached out a hesitant hand. The moment his fingers neared the braided strands, the chamber flickered, not the wall's reality. For a fraction of a second, Ethan stood not in the chamber, but in a long hallway lit by golden lanterns. Then the vision snapped away. Another flicker, a snow-covered field under a moon that did not exist in any familiar sky. Gone. Another, a city he had never seen burning beneath a fractured red sun. Gone. Another, a small room where a child cried beside a broken clock that ticked forward and backward at once. Ethan stumbled back, gasping. The braid of light pulsed in agitation, flickering rapidly like a heartbeat under duress. The cycle was showing him futures, not fixed futures, possible futures, futures that depended on the next decisions he made. He steadied himself, hand pressed against the altar. "Slow down," he whispered. "Show me one at a time." The braid responded. The chamber darkened, a single strand brightened, and Ethan saw a child standing at the threshold of the sealed basement door in his uncle's house, her eyes wide, unblinking, drawn toward the faint glow beneath the door. Ethan recognized her. his cousin's daughter, a child who lived across the country, a child he had never imagined connected to any of this. The vision deepened. She stepped toward the door. The door pulsed, and the cycle reacted to her not as a threat, but as potential. The vision snapped away. Ethan staggered. His breath hitched. The imprint in his chest pulsed with sharp pain. "No," he whispered. "Not her. Not another one." The braid glowed again, urging him to watch. Another strand brightened. A desert, wind cutting across cracked earth, something massive moving beneath the surface, a fissure glowing with amber light. The cycle was breaking in places far from this basement, far from this chamber. Ethan pressed a hand to his head, overwhelmed. The third strand ignited. Ethan saw himself, much older, standing at the altar again, wearing clothes unfamiliar to him, his imprint brighter, stronger, almost unbearable, his eyes hollow with knowledge he had not yet earned. And behind him, a door, not the basement door, not the ancient seal, a new door, a door made of light. The vision broke apart before he could understand more. Ethan staggered, falling to one knee. The strands dimmed. The chamber returned. The altar pulsed gently, as if waiting for his reaction. Ethan wiped sweat from his face. Trembling, "I understand," he whispered. The cycle was not a single wound to heal. It was a network, a living system that had been slowly breaking for generations. The fracture in the basement was simply the wound that grew loud enough for someone to notice. Now, Ethan held the imprint, and the imprint connected him to every branch of the cycle. He struggled to stand, gripping the altar. "Tell me what to do." The braided strands reshaped, folding into a single bright point of light. The point expanded, flowing outward into a curved structure, an archway made of pure temporal energy. Its surface shimmered with shifting patterns that resembled stars, rearranging themselves into languages no one had spoken for thousands of years. At the center of the archway was a doorway carved from light itself. Ethan's breath caught. The vision had shown him this door. Older Ethan had stood before it. Now he stood before it too. The archway pulsed, and a path of glowing sigils lit up along the floor leading toward it. The imprint in Ethan's chest flared with both pain and recognition. He stepped forward. The chamber dimmed behind him. The blue rivers slowed. The ancient symbols grew quiet. A low hum grew louder within the doorway, vibrating the air like a deep harmonic frequency. Ethan paused inches from the threshold. The doorway offered no glimpse of what lay beyond, only darkness, deep, endless darkness that shimmered faintly with swirling currents of time. He raised his hand. Before he could touch the doorway, the cavern behind him shuddered violently. A distant crack echoed. Ethan turned in alarm. The sealed door, even from here, separated by tunnels, chambers, and corridors. He felt it tremble. Its glow flickered unevenly. Something behind it pounded with renewed force. 3 knocks, then 3 more. Then a low growl, ancient and vast, rolled through the cycle like thunder sliding across a world's bones. Ethan's blood ran cold. It was awake. The cycle trembled under its presence. The pathway of sigils flickered. The archway rippled. Ethan swallowed hard and faced the shimmering door of light. He had no choice anymore. If something behind the sealed door had awakened, he had to awaken something stronger. He stepped through the doorway, and the world swallowed him whole. Ethan felt himself pulled through the doorway of light, like a thread yanked from fabric. There was no sensation of falling, no sense of direction, no physical boundary to push against, only motion, endless, weightless motion suspended in a space that felt too large to comprehend. Colors he could not name rippled around him in slow spirals. Shadows flickered like distant memories. Time itself seemed to stretch thin and fold over him like silk layered upon silk, each layer whispering with half-forgotten echoes. When his feet finally touched solid ground, Ethan gasped and stumbled forward. The world around him settled into shape, though shape felt like the wrong word. He stood on a vast, dim plain of shimmering dust that moved in waves like a quiet sea. Above him stretched a sky filled with fracture lines of light, each one glowing with a soft amber hue, drifting lazily like cracks in glass suspended in mid-air. This place felt older than the cavern, older than the cycle, older than anything he had ever sensed. The imprint in his chest pulsed once. Hard, Ethan's breath hitched. Where am I? A whisper answered. The between. Ethan spun around. No one stood behind him. No figure, no shadow, only emptiness stretching into a horizon that glowed faintly blue. Then the whisper came again, this time inside him, though not from the imprint, the place where cycles form and fail. Ethan took a steadying breath. Show yourself. Something flickered near the edge of the plane. A distortion, a ripple in the dust. It rose slowly, taking shape as a figure tall, slender, glowing faintly with pale gold light. Its features blurred between masculine and feminine, between young and impossibly old. When it spoke again, the voice was both gentle and immense. You carry the imprint. You carry the choice. Ethan tensed. Who are you? The figure tilted its head slightly, a memory of the cycle, a reflection of those who came before. Ethan stepped closer. Are you like the caretaker I freed? The figure shimmered. Its edges wavered like heat distortion. Not one, not living, not lost. I am the echo of every decision that shaped the cycle, and I am here because you have reached the threshold where your choice becomes binding. The ground trembled beneath Ethan's feet. The figure extended a hand toward the horizon. Look! Ethan followed its gesture. The plane suddenly shifted, folding outward to reveal a sweeping vista of scenes suspended in the air, like fragments of broken mirrors. He saw the sealed basement door, not as it was now, but as it had been decades ago. When his uncle first discovered the fracture, Nathaniel stood at the threshold, younger, determined, unaware of the cost. Another fragment showed the caretaker before him, the woman trapped in the blue orb, running through a collapsing forest of time, trying desperately to hold her branch of the cycle together. Another showed someone even older, in a realm Ethan did not recognize, carving symbols into stone with shaking hands. Then came fragments of futures. A child approached approaching a glowing basement door, a desert cracking open beneath a burning sky, a city twisting around itself as time broke apart, a world frozen in a loop of a single repeating second. Ethan flinched as the images swirled violently. The figure stepped beside him. These futures are not fixed. They are possible. They hinge upon pressure points within the cycle points you now stand upon. Ethan clenched his fists. So I'm supposed to stop them all. The figure's glow dimmed slightly. Not stop. Choose. Ethan's voice cracked. Choose what? How the cycle continues or ends. The sky above them pulsed. Amber cracks widened, glowing brighter as something deep within the realm rumbled with unsettling resonance. The figure faced Ethan fully now. You freed a caretaker. You altered a path. And in doing so, you woke the one behind the sealed door. Ethan swallowed hard. What is it? The figure's expression turned sorrowful. A remnant of the first cycle. A being bound when the world was young. A wound given form. A hunger that waits for weakness in the pattern. Your fracture contained only a whisper of its presence. But now, it stirs. Ethan felt cold dread in his bones. So it's trying to get out. Yes, and I'm supposed to stop it. No, Ethan blinked. No, stopping it is impossible. It cannot be destroyed. It can only be redirected or replaced. Ethan stared at the figure. Redirected? How? The ground beneath them shimmered and reshaped into a spiral of glowing lines. At the center lay a dark void, swirling like a black star. The figure pointed. This is where the cycle draws its anchor. This is where the fracture first formed. This is where the one behind the door feeds. Ethan felt his throat tighten, and if the cycle fails, Boyd pulsed softly. It will feed on everything. The amber sky cracked thunderously, sending waves of shimmering light across the dust. Ethan staggered, struggling to keep his balance. The figure placed a hand on his shoulder, steadying him. You have two paths. Ethan forced himself to breathe. Show me. The sky stilled. Two lines of light formed beneath their feet, stretching outward like opposing roads. The first glowed with golden warmth. Ethan saw flashes of life, his family, his own future, small moments filled with quiet peace. If you choose this path, the cycle will seal itself. You will return to the world. You will live, but the one behind the door will continue to seek weakness. Eventually, another fracture will form. Another caretaker will be chosen. Another life will bear the weight you now carry. Ethan's chest tightened, and the other path, the second line of light, turned deep, pulsating red. Before Ethan could ask, the ground rose into another vision. He saw himself changed, luminous, powerful, standing in a circle of swirling time. The imprint had overtaken his body entirely, reshaping him into something more than human, something bound to the cycle's core. If you choose this path, you will replace the ancient one behind the door. You will become the anchor, not as a prisoner, but as a guardian. The cycle will stabilize for centuries. No fracture, no threat, no future caretaker bearing the burden you now feel. Ethan felt his knees weaken. What happens to me? The figure did not hesitate. You will no longer be mortal, no longer free, no longer yourself, but the world will continue untouched by what stirs behind the door. Ethan exhaled shakily. The two paths glowed beneath him, one warm, one red, one human, one eternal. He looked toward the horizon. The possible futures flickered again. The child at the basement door, the desert cracking open, the city twisting itself apart. His decision would shape everything. He closed his eyes, listening to the imprint pulse inside him. One slow beat, then another, then another. He opened his eyes and stepped toward. He froze. The ground beneath him trembled violently. The amber cracks in the sky split open wide. A roar deep, ancient, furious shook the between. The figure beside him staggered, its light flickering. It has awakened fully. Another roar shattered the horizon. Ethan shielded his face as a wave of darkness swept across the plain. The figure cried out, "Ethan, choose now, before it arrives." Ethan staggered as the roar tore through the between, a sound so ancient and powerful that it felt like the sky itself was coming undone. The shimmering dust plain whipped into spirals beneath his feet, rising in vortexes that clawed at his legs. Light fractured across the horizon, splitting the amber sky into jagged shards that flickered and collapsed into darkness. The figure beside him struggled to remain coherent, its once stable golden outline flickering violently like a candle about to be extinguished. "Ethan, choose," the figure repeated, its voice cracking under the pressure of the shifting realm. But Ethan could not tear his eyes away from the horizon. Something immense was emerging, not through space, not through time, through the cycle itself. The ground vibrated with enormous pulses. The amber cracks across the sky tore wider, revealing an abyssal void beyond them. An expanse of churning black mist threaded with crimson light. A shape moved inside that void, massive, slow, a presence older than the cycle, older than memory. It pressed against the thin walls of the between like a leviathan swimming beneath a frozen sea. The air thickened to the point Ethan could barely breathe. He dropped to one knee, clutching his chest as the imprint throbbed in agony. It felt like the ancient being was reaching for it, recognizing it, hungering for it. The figure reached toward Ethan, its hand trembling. "You must choose, or it will choose for you." Ethan forced himself upright, fighting the suffocating pressure. The two paths still glowed faintly at his feet, the golden path of humanity and fragile peace, and the red path of eternal guardianship. But now both paths buckled as if under the weight of the awakening entity. The decision no longer belonged to abstract futures. It belonged to survival. The ancient being roared again. The plain cracked open beneath Ethan. Vast fissures spiraled outward, glowing with molten amber that poured from the wounds in reality. He stumbled backward as chunks of shimmering dust gave way to abyssal void. The between was collapsing. The figure appeared before him, its form stretched thin. "There is no time left. Your presence holds the cycle steady. If you fall, the cycle falls. I know," Ethan shouted over the deafening rumble. "But if I bind myself, I vanish, not vanish. Become more. I don't want to become more. I want to live. The figure's glow dimmed. That is one path. Ethan's chest tightened. He spun toward the golden path. It flickered weakly, like a dying flame. He could almost see glimpses of his future through it. Dinners with family, ordinary days, sunsets untouched by cosmic horror, a life lived quietly, freely. The ground shook beneath it. The golden light dimmed further. The figure's voice softened. If the cycle seals itself without an anchor, it will only last so long. Decades, perhaps. A century if fortunate. Someone else will inherit what you walk away from. Ethan trembled. His breathing was shallow and rapid. And the other path. He turned toward the red path. It pulsed like a heartbeat, strong and sure. Through it, he saw glimpses of a different version of himself, taller, radiant, ageless, a guardian woven into the essence of time itself, a being strong enough to keep the ancient entity imprisoned, a sacrifice large enough to silence the roar forever, but at the cost of every human moment he had left. Ethan clenched his fists. The imprint burned inside him like molten metal. I'm not ready to stop being me. The figure stepped closer, its expression strangely gentle, even as it flickered. Few ever are. The roar deepened into a growl that rattled reality itself. Ethan turned as the void beyond the cracked sky expanded. Something massive pressed against the barrier, something with form but no shape, with presence but no body. Tendrils of shadowy light lashed outward, tearing through the fabric of the between. The ground beneath Ethan split wider. The figure looked up in terror. It is breaching. A shadow tendril burst through the sky with a violent shockwave. Ethan threw himself sideways as the ground shattered where he stood. The tendril slammed into the dust plain, sinking deep, searching for him. Ethan gritted his teeth. It wants the imprint. Yeah, the figure whispered, voice trembling, and if it takes you, it will birth a cycle of its own making. Ethan's stomach twisted. A corrupted cycle, a world bent to a will older than creation, a fate far worse than a single fracture. He forced himself to his feet as another tendril smashed into the plain, sending up spirals of dust. The paths at his feet flickered violently, gold and red both shaking under the immense pressure. Ethan stared at them, then at the horizon, then at the figure. I'm not letting the world be eaten because I was scared, he whispered. The figure's eyes softened. Ethan took a breath that shook his entire body. He stepped toward the red path, but before his foot touched it, the ground exploded beneath him. A tendril wrapped around his torso and hurled him into the air. Ethan screamed as he tumbled, pain flaring across his ribs. The imprint blazed, reacting instinctively to protect him. Golden light burst outward in a dome, repelling the tendril long enough for Ethan to crash back to the ground. The figure appeared beside him, kneeling. It is accelerating. It senses your decision. You must finish the choice. Ethan forced himself upright, coughing. I can still do it. He staggered forward. The red path pulsed with fierce, waiting energy. He could feel the weight of destiny pressing upon him, urging him to seal himself to the cycle's core, to end the threat forever. He reached toward it. Another tendril burst through the sky, slamming into the ground directly between Ethan and the red path. The shockwave threw him backward. The tendril writhed, blocking the path entirely. No, the entity's voice tore into Ethan's mind, violent and primal. "You will not take my place." Blood rushed from Ethan's nose. His knees buckled. The figure beside him flickered violently, its form unraveling. "It knows," the figure whispered weakly. "It knows what you're trying to choose." Ethan wiped his face, teeth clenched. Then it's scared. Yes, it is afraid of being replaced. Ethan turned toward the golden path. The tendrils shifted instantly, some whipping toward it, others curling around it, protecting his escape. Ethan froze. "It wants me to choose the easy path." The figure shuddered. "Yes, if you leave, the cycle weakens. Its prison weakens. It will break free." Ethan's heartbeat thundered in his ears. The golden light flickered, tempting him with warmth, with a way out, with life. He stared at it for a long moment. Then he whispered, "No." He turned back to the red path. 3 tendrils whipped toward him. The figure raised both arms, unleashing a burst of golden force that held them at bay, but only for seconds. Ethan sprinted, adrenaline surging as the plane collapsed behind him. The red path pulsed violently, almost fading beneath the onslaught of tendrils. He leaped. His foot touched the red path. Light erupted. The between roared. The entity shrieked. Ethan's imprint ignited, overtaking his entire body in molten brilliance. He screamed as the light consumed him, not burning, not killing, but transforming. Every memory splintered, then reformed into sharper clarity. Every heartbeat echoed with the pulse of time itself. The figure collapsed, flickering out of existence. The entity howled in agony as the sky sealed shut, its tendrils retracting in panic. Ethan's body lifted from the ground, suspended in a pillar of pure temporal fire. The red path vanished. The golden path vanished. The plane vanished. Everything vanished. Except Ethan. Except the cycle. Except the ancient being falling away into a void sealed behind him. Ethan's transformation reached its peak, and then silence. The between vanished, and Ethan opened his eyes into a new existence. Ethan opened his eyes into a world that did not resemble anything human hands or imagination could shape. There was no sky above him, but a vast dome of shimmering temporal currents, twisting like auroras made of glass and memory. There was no ground beneath his feet, but a surface woven from intersecting strands of light, rippling gently under each step as if acknowledging his presence. The air felt alive, warm where his imprint pulsed, cool where it receded, shifting with each breath he took. He was standing not in the between, nor in the cavern, nor in any place bound by chronology. He was inside the cycle, or perhaps now he was part of it. Ethan lifted his hands. They glowed faintly, golden light tracing the outlines of veins, bones, movement. The imprint no longer pulsed painfully within his chest. It flowed through him, weaving through his limbs, his thoughts, his perception. He realized with a jolt that he could feel the passage of time not as something external, but as threads running through creation itself. Some threads vibrated with harmony, others trembled with strain. One, a thick cord of darkened energy, thrashed violently somewhere far beyond this realm. The ancient entity he had replaced. He felt its fury like a distant storm contained, yet ceaseless. Ethan steadied himself and tried to focus on what lay around him. Structures emerged in rippling form, towers of suspended clockwork mechanisms rising from the luminous floor, gears turning silently in impossible configurations. Pathways unfolded into fractal corridors, stretching infinitely outward before collapsing into spirals of light. And beneath all of this was a rhythm, a heartbeat far deeper than the cavern's pulse, older than the fracture, the source of every cycle that ever existed. Ethan took a cautious step. The cycle reacted instantly. A bridge of golden light formed ahead of him, stretching toward a massive floating construct that resembled a sphere made of layered rings, rotating at different speeds. Within the rings pulsed countless fragments of moments, births, deaths, storms, calm seas, wars, quiet afternoons, entire worlds in flickering pieces. As Ethan approached, the rings slowed, responding to his presence. The sphere opened like a blooming flower, revealing a hollow core filled with swirling mist. A voice echoed from everywhere at once. Ethan Caldwell. He froze. Who are you? The mist parted, forming into the silhouette of a human figure. No face, no distinct features, just presence. The cycle recognizes its new guardian. Ethan exhaled slowly. So I really replaced it. Yes, the Ancient One has fallen to the void beyond the pattern. You are now the stabilizer of the cycle, its anchor, its balance. Ethan shook his head. That's not what the figure in the between said. I wasn't supposed to be bound. I was meant to be something else. A guardian, not a prisoner. The silhouette stepped closer. Anchors of old were prisoners. You are not. Then what am I? A convergence. A living will shaping the next age of time. Ethan frowned. That sounds like a poetic way of saying I have no choice. All choices have consequences. Yours has weight. Ethan grimaced. And what now? What am I supposed to do here? The figure extended a hand toward the swirling mist. See, the mist expanded, engulfing Ethan's vision. He flinched as the world around him blurred into shifting images, thousands of timelines branching like glowing veins. Each fractal line hummed with its own unique rhythm. Some pulsed calmly, others warped violently, distorting into knots of unstable energy. Your arrival has stabilized much, but not all. The cycle still bears wounds. Ethan watched as several branches flickered. One showed a desert splitting open with amber light. Another showed the child from his vision reaching toward a basement door. Another showed storms of reversed time, swallowing coastlines. Another showed cities aging and de-aging within seconds. These places require intervention. Ethan's stomach tightened. You want me to fix all of them? The figure's voice softened. Not alone. Ethan blinked. What does that mean? A soft vibration spread from beneath the luminous floor. Several points of light appeared in the mist. They pulsed at different rhythms, some faint, some bright. New caretakers rise even now, drawn to seams in their worlds. They will feel the cycle calling. Ethan's breath caught, like it called me. Yes, but it nearly killed me. The figure nodded. Some will fail, some will break, some will become echoes. Anger flared in Ethan's chest. And you expect me to sit back and watch that happen? The figure tilted its head. No, we expect you to guide them. Ethan stepped back. Guide them how? I don't even understand what I am. You are the cycle's voice, and soon you will be its hands. Ethan shuddered at the implication. I don't want to control anyone's life. No, but you can help them survive what must come. What must come? Ethan repeated, chest tightening. The mist darkened. A familiar roar trembled through the cycle. The ancient entity was not destroyed. It was displaced, contained, but its influence echoes across threads. A cycle bound by fear cannot endure. Ethan stared into the darkness of the mist. So what am I supposed to do? Restore harmony. And if I fail? The light dimmed. Then all cycles end. Ethan closed his eyes, inhaling slowly, letting the truth settle in the hollow place where fear burned brightest. He had chosen this, chosen to bear the burden so others wouldn't have to, chosen to stop the ancient being even if he couldn't destroy it, chosen to become something more than human, even if he still felt human inside. When he opened his eyes again, the figure had stepped aside, revealing a doorway made of intertwining strands of light. Unlike the one he entered earlier, this one led outward, not deeper. It led back to the worlds connected to the cycle. It led back to reality. What happens when I step through? Ethan asked. The figure's final words resonated with a calm certainty. You will walk all worlds. Ethan Caldwell, not as one who belongs to them, but as one who keeps them from falling apart. You will meet those who carry pieces of the cycle within them. You will guide the next generation of caretakers. And one day, one among them will replace you. Ethan swallowed. And until then, the figure gestured toward the glowing doorway. Until then, you endure. Ethan exhaled slowly, lifting his gaze to the swirling horizon of light and memory. The cycle thrummed beneath his skin, no longer a burden, but a responsibility that felt heavy and necessary. He stepped toward the doorway. The cycle brightened in response, threads of time converging around him like a cloak of living light. Ethan paused at the threshold. For the first time since the basement door opened, he whispered, not in fear or desperation, but in resolve. I'll do it. He stepped through the doorway and returned to a world that no longer feared him, but needed him. Ethan emerged from the doorway of intertwined temporal strands and stepped into a world that felt familiar only at its surface. The first breath he drew tasted of air, real air, not the shimmering temporal essence he had lived within moments ago. His feet pressed into soil, damp and cool, scattered with fallen leaves. Overhead, branches reached toward a night sky stitched with stars. He blinked slowly, adjusting to the weight of gravity, the texture of sound, the finiteness of physical existence. He had returned to the world, but it took only seconds for him to realize this world no longer saw him as entirely human. Time bent around him. Subtle distortions rippled outward with each breath he took. The forest air thickened and softened in waves, as if responding to his presence. Leaves fell slower near him, drifting almost lazily through currents that made no sense. Crickets chirped in staggered rhythms, their sounds momentarily slipping backward before correcting themselves. Ethan placed a hand over his chest. The imprint glowed faintly beneath his skin, reacting gently to the living world around him. "I'm back," he whispered. But even as he said it, he knew the truth. He was back in form, but he was not entirely back in spirit. His perception stretched far beyond the forest, reaching through threads of time like a hand brushing through silk. Then something tugged at him. A call, a tremor across the cycle so faint he might have missed it if he were still human. But he was not. The call vibrated through his skull, through the soles of his feet, through the air itself. Someone was near a fracture. Someone was touching it. Someone who had no idea what danger they were in. Ethan closed his eyes. The world around him dissolved into an overlay of timelines. A glowing line appeared to the northeast, a thread flickering erratically, the early signature of a new caretaker, a child, perhaps, or someone with an untrained sensitivity to temporal distortions. Ethan clenched his jaw. There was no time to hesitate. He began to walk. The forest bent with him. Branches curved away, clearing a path. The ground smoothed beneath his steps. Time itself parted gently around him as he moved, no longer resisting his presence, but recognizing him as part of its structure. Ethan moved faster, almost gliding between trees. His heartbeat remained steady, but his thoughts raced. He wondered about the child he had seen in the vision, the girl at the basement door. Was she the source of the call, or was this someone new? The cycle held many secrets, and now that Ethan felt its currents directly, he understood how countless unseen threads could weave into a single crisis. He reached the forest's edge. A house stood alone under the moonlight. Weathered wood, a sagging porch, windows half covered with old curtains. Time pulsed around it. This was the place. He stepped closer. As he approached, he noticed the grass near the foundation shimmering with faint amber flickers, the same flickers that had once crept beneath his uncle's basement door. His breath tightened. The house was not abandoned after all. A light flicked on upstairs. Ethan lifted his gaze. A young boy no more than 10 stood in the window. His eyes met Ethan's through the glass. The boy did not look frightened. He looked curious, too curious. Then Ethan felt it, a rush of energy behind the boy, a distortion swirling like a silent storm, not strong yet but forming. Hungry, growing. Ethan exhaled slowly and whispered, "Another fracture." He walked toward the house before he reached the porch. The front door opened. A woman stood framed in the doorway. Her hair was messy, her face tired, her arms crossed defensively, but her eyes... Her eyes widened with recognition. "Ethan," she whispered. Ethan froze. He had never met her before, but she recognized him, or rather, she recognized the imprint. "You're like him," she said softly. Ethan's breath caught. "Like who?" She stepped aside, revealing the staircase behind her. The air shimmered faintly around its edges. "My father," she whispered. "Nathaniel Caldwell." Ethan's chest tightened. Her eyes, her posture, the shape of her jaw. He could see the resemblance now. This was his cousin. He didn't even realize Nathaniel had a daughter. Ethan stepped forward. "Your father, he tried to protect the cycle. He wrote warnings. He tried to protect me," she whispered, cutting him off. "But the house, it's waking up again." As if in response, the air behind her rippled. A deep hum vibrated through the floorboards. Ethan felt the fractures emerging, signature weak, unstable, drawn not to her, but to the boy upstairs. Ethan kept his voice calm. "Your son, he feels it, doesn't he?" Her lips trembled. "He hears it. At night, the knocking, the whispering." Ethan stepped fully inside. The house recognized him instantly. The walls groaned. The lights flickered. Time thickened around him like a fog. He moved to the base of the stairs. The imprint pulsed in his chest, glowing faintly through his shirt. "Stay here," he told her. She nodded, fear tightening her features. Ethan climbed the stairs slowly, each step resonating with faint vibrations. The air grew colder. The lights buzzed overhead. A picture frame rattled as he passed. He reached the hallway. The boy stood at the far end, staring at a door that pulsed with faint amber light. A basement door, but not leading to a basement. Not anymore. Ethan approached quietly. "What's your name?" The boy didn't look back. Isaac. Ethan said gently. "You need to step away from the door." "I can't," Isaac whispered. "It calls me." Ethan felt the imprint flare sharply. The door pulsed in response. Voice whispered from behind it, not ancient, not monstrous, not the entity Ethan had sealed. This voice was smaller, lonely, seeking a remnant that escaped the monolith. Ethan's stomach sank. When the cycle shifted, not all remnants had been fully sealed. One had slipped into the human world, and now it had found a child. He crouched beside Isaac. "Listen to me. It isn't calling you. It's trying to pull you in." Isaac's eyes welled with tears. "It says it needs me." Ethan swallowed. "No, Isaac. It needs someone stronger." The boy sniffed. "Stronger like you." Ethan exhaled. "Yes." The door pulsed again, harder. Amber cracks rippled across its surface. Isaac stepped closer. Ethan grabbed him by the shoulders, pulling him back. The door shuddered violently. A low whisper seeped through the crack. "Guardian." Ethan froze. The voice knew him. Isaac whimpered. "What is that?" Ethan's pulse quickened. "A remnant I failed to contain." The door rattled. Hard. The whisper turned into a distorted echo. "Let me in." Ethan rose to his feet, placing himself between the boy and the door. "You don't belong here." The voice deepened. "You are incomplete." Ethan took a slow breath. "No," he whispered. "I am exactly what the cycle needs." He pressed his hand to the door. Amber light exploded outward. Isaac screamed. The house trembled, and Ethan inhaled sharply as the remnant surged into him like a wave of burning time. Ethan felt the remnant surge into him with the force of a collapsing star. For a moment, the world vanished. No hallway, no Isaac, no house, only a flood of amber light that consumed every inch of his consciousness. It was not like the transformation in the between. That had been controlled, deliberate, structured by the cycle. This was violent, wild, a burst of fractured memory and instinct that clawed its way into his mind with desperate hunger. The remnant was not simply entering him, it was fighting for dominion. He staggered backward, slamming into the far wall. The floorboards shook. A chandelier overhead flickered wildly, casting erratic shadows across the hallway. Isaac cried out and scrambled away, but the sound reached Ethan like an echo from another world. The remnant's voice, closer, louder, drowned everything else. Incomplete, incomplete. You are incomplete. Ethan clenched his teeth, forcing air into his lungs. "Get out," he growled. The remnant answered with a surge of cold fire that ripped through his nerves, dragging him deeper into its fractured essence. Images burst across his mind. A room filled with amber pillars, a woman screaming as time reversed around her, a caretaker binding an unstable fragment with trembling hands, the monolith pulsing violently, then silence, emptiness, a remnant left behind, stripped of purpose, drifting into the human world with no guiding anchor. It had been alone for too long. The hallway flickered between present and memory as the remnant pushed harder. "Let me complete you. Let me become purpose again." Ethan slammed his hand against the wall, steadying himself. His breath came in harsh bursts. The imprint in his chest glowed furiously, fighting back, heat radiating through every vein. He forced his eyes open and saw Isaac huddled at the opposite end of the hallway, tears streaming down his face. Ethan reached toward him weakly. "Stay back." Isaac shook his head, terrified. "It's hurting you." The remnant seized on the moment of weakness, tightening its grip. Ethan's vision blurred as the hallway morphed into a temporal void. He saw himself suspended in shards of amber light. Fractures spread across his skin like glowing cracks. His heartbeat became thunder. "You are not enough without me." "No," Ethan roared. He slammed both palms onto the floor. A pulse of golden energy erupted outward, cracking the floorboards and blasting back the mist-like tendrils wrapping around him. The remnant shrieked an inhuman cry vibrating through every wall in the house. Isaac covered his ears. Downstairs, glass shattered. The lights went out. In the darkness, Ethan felt the remnant writhe inside him, twisting like a trapped serpent. He dropped to one knee, gripping his head as the imprint clashed violently with the invading essence. The remnant spoke again, but now its voice trembled not with fury, but desperation. "I do not want oblivion. I was alive. I was purpose. Let me stay." Ethan's breath hitched. For a moment, he sensed the fear behind the remnant's rage. It had been part of the cycle once, a guardian thread of memory, a piece of temporal identity, and when the monolith had shattered, this piece had been flung into the human world alone, unanchored, unwanted. Ethan felt a flash of sympathy and almost let his guard drop. But then he saw Isaac again. The boy had begun to glow faintly. Amber sparks drifted from his skin as if the remnant's presence had awoken something inside him. If Ethan let the remnant anchor itself to the boy, the child would be consumed, reshaped into something he could never escape. Ethan forced himself to stand. "No," he whispered, "not him. You don't get to choose him or me." The remnant roared. Ethan's body convulsed as amber fire burst from beneath his skin. His shadow split into dozens of flickering silhouettes, echoes of who he had been, who he could have been, who he was becoming. The air rippled with violent temporal distortion. Downstairs, his cousin cried out, "Ethan, what's happening?" He couldn't answer her. The remnant struck again, and this time, Ethan was hurled backward across the hallway, slamming into the basement door. The door cracked open from the impact, releasing a blast of amber wind that knocked paintings off the walls. Isaac screamed. Ethan forced the door shut with the last ounce of his strength. The remnant twisted harder. "Let me belong." Ethan shook his head. "You don't understand," he whispered. "I can't let you reshape me. I am already bound. I am already chosen." "Chosen?" the remnant hissed. "Then let me be chosen too." It surged again, trying to merge with his imprint. Ethan felt his consciousness flicker. He felt the cycle tug at him, offering control, offering the power to seize the remnant and bind it permanently. But doing so would mean becoming something less human, something closer to the entity he had replaced. He could feel temptation coiling through him. Isaac's small voice cut through the darkness. "Ethan, please come back." Those words were enough. Ethan's eyes snapped open, glowing with pure golden fire. "No more," he whispered. He placed both hands on his chest, directly over the imprint, and pulled. Golden light split the air. The remnant screamed as Ethan dragged it out of his own essence, a shapeless cloud of writhing amber energy, resisting with every ounce of its fractured will. It fought viciously, screaming inside his mind, lashing out with phantom claws, tearing at the walls, shattering every bulb in the hallway. Ethan roared back, his voice shaking the floor. He wrenched the remnant free. It hovered in the air before him, a trembling sphere of flickering amber, pulsing like a panicked heartbeat. Isaac stared in awe. Ethan held it at arm's length, his muscles shaking. "You wanted purpose," he said. "Then I'll give you purpose." The remnant hesitated, flickering uncertainly. Ethan reached into the imprint's energy and shaped it, a small, glowing lattice forming between his hands. A container, a vessel, a new anchor, not to imprison the remnant, but to stabilize it. The remnant spoke weakly. "What are you?" Ethan finished shaping the vessel, a seed of crystallized time, shimmering with multicolored threads. "A chance," he said. He touched the remnant to the vessel. Light exploded through the hallway. The remnant's scream turned into a quiet exhale. The amber mass condensed, flowing into the vessel like water filling a glass. The lattice sealed shut with a soft chime. The vessel glowed warm, vibrant, alive. Ethan collapsed to one knee, gasping for air. Sweat dripped from his brow. Isaac approached slowly. "Is it gone?" Ethan shook his head. "No, it's becoming." He held up the vessel. Inside it, the remnant pulsed with calm light. Ethan exhaled, and now it has a future. But before he could stand, before he could even breathe fully, a tremor shook the entire house. Ethan froze. This tremor did not come from the remnant. It came from the cycle. Something had changed, something enormous. Ethan lifted his gaze toward the window, eyes narrowing as the world outside flickered. Storm clouds spiraled unnaturally across the sky. Time itself quivered, and an ancient voice, not the remnants, not the entities, whispered across the fabric of existence. "Guardian, they are coming." Ethan steadied himself as the tremor rippled again through the house, shaking the walls and sending a shower of dust drifting from the ceiling. The vessel in his hand pulsed with gentle, warm light, the remnant now stable. No longer a threat, but a living fragment of the cycle waiting for purpose. Isaac clung to the railing behind him, eyes wide with fear, but also with a strange trust Ethan did not take lightly. Outside, the sky twisted, clouds spiraled into impossible shapes, bending inward as though pulled by unseen gravity. Lightning forked upward instead of down. Time stuttered. A flock of birds froze mid-flight, hanging motionless for a breath before resuming, out of sync with the wind. The whisper that had drifted across existence grew louder. "Guardian, they are coming." Ethan exhaled slowly. He knew that voice. It was not the cycle. It was not the ancient entity. It was something older, something that had not spoken since long before he took the imprint. A force woven into the very fabric of creation. The protectors. He had heard only echoes of them in the cycle's memory beings, who maintained order before the cycle ever existed. Beings who vanished when the ancient entity rose. Some had fallen. Some were consumed. Some had retreated beyond time to avoid annihilation. For them to return now, something catastrophic was about to unfold. Ethan turned to Isaac. "Stay with your mother. Do not leave this hallway." Isaac nodded shakily. "Will you come back?" Ethan placed a hand gently on the boy's shoulder. "I will." He could not promise safety, but he could promise effort. Isaac held the vessel close for a moment, eyes drawn to its glow. Ethan carefully took it back. Downstairs, his cousin was crying out fearful, calling for Isaac. The house groaned as if struggling against pressure from all sides. Ethan descended the stairs swiftly, each step making the lights flicker. When he reached the bottom, she rushed to him. "What is happening?" she asked, voice trembling. Ethan held her shoulders firmly. "The fracture is unstable, but not because of the remnant. Something bigger is coming. You need to take Isaac and leave this house." She looked at him in disbelief. "Now, in this storm." "It's not a storm," Ethan whispered. "It's time unraveling." The windows shattered inward. as if drawn by vacuum force. Wind tore through the living room, freezing cold and impossibly still at the same time. Ethan shielded her with his arm as shards of glass clattered across the floor in slow motion. She stared at him with dawning terror. "Ethan, what are you?" Ethan looked toward the twisted sky. "Someone who can stop what's coming, but I need you safe." She nodded, tears streaking her face. "Then do what you must." Ethan closed his eyes. He reached into the cycle, not through a doorway, not through the between, but through his own existence. The imprint opened like a blazing star. Reality bent. A seam formed in the air, widening into a shimmering rift. On the other side was not another realm, but a place suspended between moments. Neutral ground. Sanctuary. "Take Isaac," Ethan said, pointing to the doorway that pulsed with gentle light. "Hide there until I return." She didn't argue. She ran upstairs, calling Isaac, who rushed down and hugged her tightly. Ethan watched as they stepped through the rift. The moment they crossed, the rift sealed shut. The house trembled violently now. The basement door shuddered. Amber light poured from beneath it. But this time it wasn't a fracture waking, it was the arrival. The air thickened to the point Ethan could barely breathe. He stepped toward the center of the room just as a blast of temporal wind surged outward. The walls stretched and contracted. Furniture warped into multiple versions of itself. Ethan planted his feet firmly, raising his hand. "Show yourself," he commanded. The lights went out. Silence. Then footsteps, not human, not physical, rhythmic pulses across the floorboards, echoing in overlapping layers. From the darkness, a shape emerged. Not one, but three. Tall, luminous, bodies composed of layered geometric forms, shifting with every breath. Their eyes were bright white voids, deeper than space. "Protectors." Ethan lowered his hand slowly. "You're real." The tallest stepped forward. Its voice vibrated not in the air, but directly in Ethan's bones. "Guardian Ethan Caldwell, the cycle has changed." "I know," Ethan replied. "I changed it." Another protector tilted its head. "You freed a remnant. You stabilized its essence. You bent the boundary between worlds. I did what was necessary." The third protector's voice boomed softly. "We did not come to judge. We came to warn." Ethan's pulse quickened. "Warn me about what?" The tallest protector lifted one hand. The air above its palm warped, replaying fragments of swirling chaos, fractures bursting worldwide, skies bending, oceans reversing, forests aging in moments. Ethan's throat tightened. This is happening everywhere." "Not yet," the protector said, "but soon. The entity's displacement has weakened many layers of reality. The cycle alone cannot contain all points of failure." Ethan looked at the vessel in his hand. "Then I need to reinforce the cycle." "No." Ethan froze. "No, you are not meant to be its sole guardian." Ethan stiffened. "Then why was I chosen?" "You were chosen to begin, not to finish." The protectors stepped closer. The shadows behind them warped and dissolved into infinite branching lines of time. The second protector spoke. "Others feel the call. The next caretakers rise, but they do not yet understand their power. They do not yet know the cost." Ethan's breath hitched. "You want me to train them, guide them, and If I refuse, the first protector lowered its head, then you will fail under the weight of what is coming, and all worlds will fall with you. Ethan clenched his jaw. Then tell me what's coming. The house vibrated as if recoiling from what they were about to reveal. The protectors raised their hands in unison. A massive projection erupted in the center of the room, an ancient doorway, older than any cycle, older than any entity, carved in impossible sigils. Behind it swirled darkness that made the between feel small, alive, watching. This is the prime gate, the source of all cycles. The protector whispered. It has remained sealed since the first collapse. Ethan stared at it, heart pounding. What happens if it opens? The protector answered with a single phrase. The end of time. The doorway shuddered in the projection, cracks spreading like veins of onyx. It is awakening. Ethan tightened his grip on the vessel. Then I need to stop it. Alone, the protector asked. Even your predecessor failed. Even the first guardians fell. You cannot succeed alone. Ethan exhaled. Then help me. The protectors stepped back. We cannot interfere. We can only prepare you. The tallest protector extended its hand toward Ethan's chest. Ethan stiffened as a cold sensation washed through him. The imprint expanded, glowing fiercely. Symbols etched themselves onto his skin, spiraling across his shoulder and down his arm. A mark, a gateway of connection. This will allow you to find the next caretakers. The protector said. They will appear one by one. You must reach them before the gate does. Ethan nodded slowly. And the remnant. The second protector pointed at the vessel. That is your first ally. Ethan looked at the glowing seed of crystallized time in his hand. Inside it, the remnant pulsed with calm purpose, waiting. The protectors stepped backward, their forms unraveling into fractal light. Prepare, Guardian. The prime gate stirs, and its herald walks the worlds already. Ethan's breath froze. Its herald? You mean someone is already out there? The protectors spoke in unison. Not someone. Something. The house exploded with light, and when the vision cleared, Ethan stood alone in the silent ruins of the living room. The storm outside calmed. The vessel glowed. The imprint burned with new purpose, and Ethan whispered into the quiet. Then let the next chapter begin. The story ends here. Thank you for watching and listening to the whole story. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell to listen to the next stories.